I just
You're
have
half,
poor hygiene practices, I guess.
you're just half wolf man.
I'm just a wolf man. So
Hey, listen, it's now what do we call this show again? Japanese Knives 101.
Japanese Knives 101, is that what we call it? Yeah, I call it Japanese Knife 101.
Oh, maybe it's Japanese Knife 101.
I
Anyway,
guess
I'm
we can
Kevin.
call.
I'm Kevin from Knifewear. I work in the Calgary store.
Yeah, and I'm Chris.
And that's Chris.
Yes, I'm in Ottawa because we've
You're in
got
Ottawa?
more than one store. I am.
How's the weather like out there?
Snowing today. Snowing. A little bit though. It's like kind of Christmas Eve snow. You know, like when people are
Like
when
TV
you're kind of
Christmas
happy
Eve
to
snow?
see. Yeah, like Hallmark snow. You know, like big flakes. They kind of settle like they haven't been they're not impeding the roads yet. You know, that was over the weekend. The road impediment was over the weekend. Yeah, I came in on Saturday. I had to shovel like a foot of snow out of the front of the store.
Really? We had, you know what? We still really have no snow. Like
No,
there's still
right?
snow because we had a ridiculous amount in one day. But we have less now.
Yeah, that's what happens. So we've got, so this is Japanese Knife 101. So we got Instagram going, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. And we just kind of, Kevin and I get together a couple of times a week, kind of shoot the breeze, talk about knives, talk about sharpening.
Knives.
Yeah.
And lots of other stuff.
Yeah.
Did anything happen last week? I missed last week. Did anything happen?
Yeah, there was some excitement last week. We did what did we do? On Tuesday, I can't remember what we talked about. On Thursday, I learned that you're not to cook in the store. Yeah, hard lesson.
And why's that, Chris?
Well, apparently, if you decide to sear if you were expecting to sear and braise a lamb neck, you will set off your fire alarm. And your fire alarm.
So if your retail store without a food license gets really smoky,
it does,
cooking,
yeah.
Oh, then what happens?
And then apparently it's not enough. As soon as that goes off, it's not like at your house when your fire alarm goes off and you can chase it with a towel. You can't do that because it's hardwired to the phone. And then the alarm company calls the fire department and the fire department shows up and chews you out while you're still doing a live stream. Yeah. So it was one of those kind of moments where you ever catch, like, you got kids and I've got kids, and it's always the son. You always find the son doing something that is so stupid that there's no words for it. And that was the look I got from the guy whose helmet said chief. So
see, I remember we were talking about weird food at the time.
We were talking about weird foods that day.
I was talking about eating raw cod sperm and raw whale sperm in Japan.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at the situation of you burning the house down, and I thought, well, there's nothing I can do from Calgary. So what I'll do is I'll just continue talking about eating raw cod sperm.
Yeah, well, the show must go on, they say.
Well, I know Jeevan made a master cut of the whole event where you can just hear Chris flapping.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just me walking around apologizing. You know what? I have learned in my time spent in restaurants and, well, just life in general, that it is easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Sometimes,
so, yeah. So I did finish cooking the lamb. I brought it home.
Oh, you did? Good.
I braised it. Yeah, I braised it with some tomato. I finished eating it today, but I made like I braised the lamb neck in some nice tomato, and because we've got this really great grocery store on the corner, Nicastro's. It's like your quintessential Bottega, right? So They've always got the best like tomato passata and just all like the good, like the things that I like to cook with, like good tomato paste. They've always got the good stuff, and anchovy and, you know, any of that. So I bought these and I meant to show them when everything was smoking and going nuts, but really big beans. I think they were actually called Corona beans on the jar, but they were huge. Like they were bigger than like a lima.
You didn't show us any of that stuff because you were too busy freaking out and being shouted at by firemen.
Yeah. So, but you know what? I will say in my own defense, there are few who can handle being shouted at by a fireman with as much grace as I do.
And were you one of them? Because you seemed quite flustered.
Yeah, but could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse. Could always be worse.
So today is kind of like an Ask Me Anything program. We talk about knives and cutting boards and I don't know, whatever really. And it's you can just have a chance to ask questions. We'll do our best to answer them. We're usually pretty good at getting to them. And
we get to most of them.
And we'll just talk about things.
And we generally have like, you know, it's almost like when you worked in a restaurant, like you get your regulars, like Fred's shown up on Facebook. We got Derek over on YouTube. I saw a couple familiar faces on Instagram, but Instagram you tend to bounce in and out a little bit faster. We often have a topic of conversation. Today I thought it might be fun to talk about sharpening tests and kind of the myths around sharpness. I don't have a ton kind of planned out, but generally that sort of thing comes with a lot of questions. So if you do have a question, by all means, stick it in the comments on YouTube or Facebook or even Instagram, wherever you're watching from. Go for it. It's we'll help you out as best we can. But it's one of the things that I find like having, what have we got? Oh, Gabriel got his father made him a bunka and can't wait to bring it in for sharpening. Well, I think Gabriel's in Ottawa, if I remember.
Well, there we go.
In Ottawa, we are doing, someone wants to see your knife again there, Kevin, wants you to tell them what it is. This
is a little 150 millimeter petty from Fujiwara-san, it's his Daikon line. And this is just an antler handle that he made one of a kind, and it stuck around in the store for so long that I had to buy it. It must have been, because we had it for the garage sale, and I'm not allowed to buy things on the first day of the garage sale until, I think I left it there for the whole week of garage sale and nobody bought it. So then I grabbed it. Yeah. It's pretty wild. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, people didn't.
Your hand well too.
Well, and everybody that grabbed it said, "Oh, it's weird. The handle's weird." And I thought that's the best part of it is the weird handle.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I always tell people about handles too. Like, this. I'm not trying to shame anybody by this, but the number of people who grab a knife by back here. Like, imagine if you held that knife back here, Kevin. It'd be like, whoop, it'd be going in a different direction, right?
It'd be a fighting knife.
Yeah, but if you hold on to the knife, you pinch the blade. Look how much of the handle isn't really part of the equation, right? It's just there for weight at that point to kind of help you hold on to it, keep it steady.
I just realized I've broken the tip off of this knife, and I don't know when I did it. But it's not good. That
happens sometimes.
I know. I'll just have to fix it. Luckily, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and it's a pretty easy one. Tips aren't as bad as people make them out to be.
My buddy Skid has joined on Instagram. She calls me Yams because I used to have a phone number that was 541 Yams.
Oh, I was wondering who that was referring to.
Me, clearly, Yams.
Yeah. So, what was like?
She was born in a bush on Princess Island Park.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not true, but I used to tell people that story.
I like it. I tell all kinds of stories that aren't true.
I used to say she lived in a cardboard box as well.
That's what I tell my kids. Oh, well, that's nice, Gabriel. Thank you. Gabriel over on Instagram is saying that I am one of those people who can tell you what you need and I'll be right about it. That's quite an endorsement.
Ooh. Can I, what should I do about this hair, Chris? Can you tell me what I need?
I'd say just keep going, man. That's my goal.
Yeah?
Alex and
I think,
so
I
Alex
think
is
this haircut now. I think this haircut now. I think I'm going to rock. I think I'm going to call it aging entrepreneur.
That's, I like it. I like it. So that, I don't know how to say this. Volcom dork. I don't know. The fellow who was asking about or I guess person, I shouldn't presume, who was asking about your Fujiwara there is, would be wonderful for carving apples and breaking down Brussels sprouts. I think so. I think a 150 is really good for both of those jobs.
I cut this apple that I'm chewing in your ear with that knife.
With that very knife. What kind of apple
And
you
this
got?
is, Chris, you know what this is? You know what kind of apple this is?
I'm going to guess.
Best apple in the world.
Based on the color of the apple skin, that's a Honeycrisp apple.
Oh, it is.
It's not a Cosmic Crisp. It's a Honeycrisp. Meckie's on the other side of the room, giving me a hard time.
Do you have something to throw at him?
Nothing that won't cost a lot of money or hurt him real bad.
Don't do that.
Oh, wait. I do have my can of gravy and meatballs, courtesy of Mr. Don Penny. This is always within reach when we're doing a Japanese knife 101. So here we do have a sharpening question, and Kevin, let's try to kind of chat a little bit about our topic today, because I don't want to get yelled at again. And that happens a bit. So Dr. G, our buddy Dr. G, do you know Dr. G in real life? No, they just
maybe I do. I don't think so.
That's fun. When you're using a leather strop, do you strop the knife at the same angle that you sharpen it at, or do you use a taller angle? I kind of do a bit of both.
If I want to take a burr off, I'll use a taller angle. If I just want to hone it, I use the same angle.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was going to say. So that's good.
I don't know if it's good. Nobody taught me. I just do it myself.
Yeah. Well, I've seen Shiba use a pretty high angle on a knife. So if he does it, I presume it's okay. And I've sharpened with him, or rather he's watched me sharpen, and he didn't stop me and he didn't correct me.
He told me a lot afterward, and he whispered in my ear that he was surprised that such a big monkey could sharpen a knife. Yeah, he was surprised.
Oh, Fred over on Facebook is saying, if you're looking for a very, and this is a good suggestion. He's saying a good cookbook, and it's one that we've had in the store. Even though it's a couple years old, it still sells really well. It's still really, it's got a lot of inspiration in it. 6 Seasons. Yeah, we have checked it out, Fred. I think I have a copy of it here in my store. Do we have a copy of 6 Seasons over there on the shelf there, Meckie? If we have one, I'll show it to everybody, Fred. That is a good recommendation.
Listen, Daniel Ebert is saying he wants to mirror polish the primary bevel of a knife. I'm guessing he's talking about this whole section of the shinogi here. And so I think he's talking about this whole gray section. Yeah. He wants to mirror polish it. It can often be tricky. And he says he's used a Kitayama. So that's like an 8,000 Kitayama.
Okay.
Oh.
My chair.
I've used the 8,000. Like after that, I've used the 8,000 Knifewear one to get a really blasting mirror polish. The other thing, if you wanted to cheat, get like 8,000 grit automotive sandpaper and get it wet. Just get it on your finger and then just rub. That's a pretty cheaty way.
Yeah.
But then don't tell anybody. Just tell them you used a 250 grit stone for that. But then cheat with the automotive sandpaper. The other thing to do is tune in to Naoto on Fridays. So Friday at 4 p.m. Mountain, we do an advanced sharpening program with Naoto every Friday. I'm pushing him to change the name of the Naoto Nerd Hour, because it's like I see Daniel here saying, I am a he, I am a dork, just call me dork. All right, Daniel Dork, we can do that. I'm a nerd. If you tune into Naoto's program here, but on Friday at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, you will be able to ask him, and he'll even show you what he's doing. So there you go. Because he is the sort of guy that does all this stuff. I'm a bit more pragmatic with my sharpening. I want them to be blazing sharp and look good enough. But Naoto really has gone down the rabbit hole of insanity, really, about sharpening stuff. So he'd be tune in then, and for sure, and he'll even show you what he uses. He'll even show you what he's doing, how to do it.
Yeah, one of the things that Naoto had suggested when we did, I think I filled in for one of those videos once, or he was helping me out with one of these videos, and a piece of advice that he gave that made a lot of sense, but I'd never heard anyone say it before, is when you're trying to get that mirror polish on a knife, you want to take more steps than you want to insert stones into your process. So like, whereas like we would normally,
because you're removing scratches, right? Is what the big deal is. And if you have too big a jump, to remove those scratches is a lot more work.
Yeah. So like instead of sharpening a knife, like how, I was taught, where you go like kind of like if you're doing a Japanese knife, you go 220, 1,000, 4,000, 8,000. Well, if you're trying to like, you're sanding out those scratches, you're going to want to go like 220, 400, 800, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000. Like you're really going to
8.
Yeah, like you should, if you want to get mirror polishes, I'll just, I'll email you an invoice. I'll get you one of everything. Like that's really, it's not the answer you wanted me to say, but it's really, I've tried other stuff too. Like I've bought those remember Kevin, we kind of all went on a kick with them, those little pen polishing pads from Lee Valley. Remember those?
Yeah, I never liked those, really.
No, well, you know what I found is that I bought them and then they wear out, and like you only get a handful of knives out of them because that's not what they're meant for, So something you can do, but it's not the best option. But what I wanted to talk a little bit about today were kind of like common. Oh, Ted's here. Hello, Ted. We're more common, and Iggy is in too. More common tests for sharpness, right? Because it's something that comes up quite a bit. People want to know, like, and we've kind of like Kevin and I are we're on the same page for this. I trust, but a lot of people will say, we've got our help desk, so if you needed a hand, you'd send an email to hello@knifewear.com. But you'll get the odd message where it's like, I just got a brand new knife. I don't think it's sharp enough. I couldn't swipe a piece of paper out of the air and cut it in half. Like, well, I don't know if that's something you need a kitchen knife to do. So that's kind of one of those things that like I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit today and kind of get people's kind of expectations or priorities in order, maybe a little bit. I don't know. What do you think about that, Kevin?
That works for me. How do you test a knife? I've got, like, I can think of 8 ways that are common. Yeah. And I can think of the 2 that I like to use regularly.
Well, my favorite 2, I like to use, I grabbed some. I like to use newsprint, very, very thin newsprint. This is actually from phone books because I find it's even thinner than normal newspaper. And I like how thin it is, and I've kind of just grown used to it. But the reason why I like it so much is because when the paper is super, super thin and you go slowly, you can get a feel for what's going on every way up the knife, right? Because slicing through this piece of paper will catch chips that I can't see with my eyes. And you want to pay attention to the amount of noise it makes. I find that's a big one. You don't want to, I don't know if you can even hear it because I got microphones going. But, there's no sense in going like super fast. Like you don't learn anything from that.
Yeah, but that's done for fun and for
showing off. Yeah, that's the fun bit.
Yeah.
Oh, Kitaba is back on Instagram. Best knife shop in the world, you said last week.
Best knife shop in 7 Dials. Best knife
Nice.
shop in Soho, London.
Amazing. That's quite the accolade. So that's my top pick for testing a knife.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to.
See, Colin, this is where I wanted to go, because Colin said, wait, are you saying a standing hair test isn't fair? And I was talking to you on the phone earlier this afternoon, Kevin, and I had said that I've never been able to get a standing hair test to work. And it doesn't matter what it is. I've gotten stuff that, oh, Sergeto's back from Bulgaria. Hello. Yeah, like trying to get a hanging hair test or a standing hair test, I could never get it to work. And I was talking to Kevin about this when we were discussing our, what we were going to chat about today. And he told me to stop talking to him about it. He wanted it to be a surprise. But I had realized that some of these tests only work if you know what you're doing. Because even slicing newspaper with a knife, like it doesn't take a ton of skill, but you're doing it a certain way. When you see someone with the with the tomato and taking that paper thin slice off the top, that's hard to do first try. I spent an afternoon a couple of years ago making a little Instagram video, and it gets more, I get more abuse for this little Instagram video than anything I've ever done in my entire life, where I had 4 grapes in a row. I cut the bottoms off so they'd stay put. And remember, Kevin, I took a slice off the 4 grapes, and every third comment on that post was, oh, you should say thanks to your CGI guys. I was like, no, I'm not smart enough to do that. I spent 6 hours and 3 pounds of grapes to get that 10-second video.
Well, I remember, there was comments on there like, that's not sharp. I saw the first grape move 0.5 millimeter before it cut, and things like that. It's like, oh my god! I just tried to do the standing hair test with my knife that I haven't sharpened recently. It didn't work.
Yeah. So Sharpenator is asking, what is the standing hair test? So
here.
And because Colin is saying that he was just being cheeky. So the idea, I don't know. Do you want to explain, Kevin?
Well, I've got a hair here, but you can't see it.
Yeah.
Now, the standing hair. Now, I've seen it done 2 different ways. Sometimes they'll loop it over, so it's got like a little standing loop like that, right? And that's how I see Iwasaki test his razors. That's not how he tests his razors. That's how he shows off.
So, and then what do you do with the loop?
As the hair is kind of standing up there, you would cut it like, oh, I did it.
Huh. Here, let me try it.
You can see that. Can you see that? No, you can't see it on there at all.
My hair's so thin though. I don't know if I can spare a hair here, guys.
I can't do it a second time. It must have just had the right tension or I hit the right spot.
Yeah. So let me try it. So I got a loop. I've never done it that way.
What I'd like to say about that test is that it's good for showing off, but it tells you nothing about your knife.
Yeah, it doesn't. I can't see because my hair, and this is the problem that I had earlier, was that my hair is it's so fine that it just like this knife, I know it's sharp. Even let's see if I can do it with it. So I grabbed this Iwasaki razor earlier to see if it's me or if it's see, I can't do it. I can't do it with my the hair on my head.
Yeah, I don't. But listen, I also don't think it's a great test, right?
No.
Because if you have your knife that sharp, the first time it hits the cutting board, it won't do that again, right?
No.
So I don't think it's a great test. I don't think it's a pragmatic test. What I like fine newspaper or fine, do you remember that book you used to get that had phone numbers in it? What was that called? Yeah. You get like a really big book, and it was a really big book. It had phone numbers in it.
With the yellow pages.
Anyways, it was a pretty good thing, right? But I like light. Oh yeah, so that's why I won't cut the. This is not a sharp knife. So I can test this edge, and I can hear and feel that it's catching on every part here, and then I know where I might have to work on it. I can feel how much it's tugging. It's not smooth. So I know this knife isn't sharp. The thing is,
Yeah.
though, this knife is really sharp. It's just been used a few times, right?
Yeah. And you also know what to expect from that knife and
that knife
how,
can
and
cut, that knife can cut space.
yeah, you know, and that's one of the things that I often say to customers in the store is they'll ask about, you know, well, when should I get my knife sharpened? And it varies on, there's so many factors, right? There's so many factors. It's
I
how
think
often do you use the knife?
get
What
it
did you
sharpened
buy?
when you don't like it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I often say, and this is my second favorite sharpness test, is cut a tomato. And if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel great, if it doesn't do a good job on a tomato, try your honing rod out. And if you don't go with the, if it doesn't fix it, it's time to put it on a stone. It will benefit from having been on a stone. So, and I find most people, most home cooks, tend to come in every 8 months or so to get their knives sharpened. And that doesn't matter. That's if they bought a Denka or they bought a Tojiro or they're just whatever, right? Like that 8 month mark seems to be the magic number, at least here in Ottawa, you know, because you get used to it. You get used to what a Denka is supposed to feel like, right? You got spoiled.
Oh, our friend Gabe says the best test is Katsuramaki on a Daikon, which is when you take the Daikon and just kind of cut like this, and you keep rolling the Daikon around. It just kind of keeps cutting so it looks like a piece of paper at the end. He says if you can get a consistent thickness with minimal movement, it's sharp enough. It's pretty pragmatic from Gabe, and I like that. And he gets to show off that he knows the fancy names for some of the cuts, and gets to pretend that he's good at it. So maybe Gabe, you should come on the show one day and show us how to do that, because I'm garbage at it.
Yeah, I tried it one time. Not so good at it.
Listen, your man Uncle Greg says, don't be spending your hair like that, man.
I know. So so to finish what I was talking about, I was telling Kevin that I couldn't do it with, well, this is going to what Greg said there, Kevin, but I can't get it with my hair, but I could do it with a beard hair because they're a bit coarser. There's something for the knife to grab. I'll see if I can get one without hurting myself too bad. So, but a lot of people here, and I've seen this on Instagram, I've never really tried to do it, using a piece of paper towel to check the teeth. And it's really like, it kind of goes back to what Kevin was saying about, you know, edge longevity and what are you hoping to get out of the knife, you know? The paper towel thing works, but I think it's one of those things that people do more often out of, oh, Kevin, that was cool. I just like carved a little piece of hair off with this razor. Wow. That was nuts.
Yeah,
right. I can see the appeal to some of this stuff.
But I think those are just showing off tests, right? Do you know what? I still think the three best ways are light paper and always use the same paper.
Yeah.
Because each paper feels different. So you're not going to get a consistent. So you want to find that local newspaper that's free, and you just want to make sure that they keep using the shittiest paper, and then just keep cutting it. I think that's what you want to do. And then every time I cut it with a different, doesn't matter which knife, it doesn't matter which day, I already know what to expect from the paper, so I can assess. So like the consistency, I think, is important. The other one I really like is running it along the back, along the thumbnail.
Oh, that makes people shiver.
Right.
People don't like that one.
I can feel the toothiness, because somebody's asking, oh, should use a paper towel to check the toothiness. No, I check it on my thumbnail, right? And I learned that one from Shibata-san. If you see his thumbnail, it's all totally cut up and destroyed. The one thing I'll tell you though,
too, right?
The one thing I'll tell you about it though, when you do that, like when you do that with a knife that's really been sharpened like all the way up to a 10,000 grit, and it just slides across your nose, and it digs in further than you would want it to, all the hair on your arm sticks up, and you feel very frightened because your body knows something bad is happening.
Well, I just took this Denka out of a box. So let me see how that goes.
Oh, and you know that's
Oh,
sharpened
yeah.
like crazy sharp. But the way Sheba sharpens, you wouldn't be able to cut a hair with it.
Yeah.
'Cause he
Yeah,
wants
no,
his knives.
just the weight of the knife, like it digs in just a little bit, just enough to make you shiver. I can do that again.
You did that on your thumb, did you?
That's my good thumb.
Oh, it's
I'll lose
scary,
that
isn't
one.
it? The other
Um,
one I really like is the old Japanese way of testing to see if it catches on your hair. So if it slides down and doesn't
mm,
dig in, like this one's sliding because I sharpened this last week, but I only sharpened it onto 1,000 and I've been using it. So it's not digging in like it used to, it's sliding down. But yeah, like this one here is digging into my hair.
yeah,
And that is one way to see. The other one, you'll see people like kind of like digging into their thumbnail like that. I think that
yeah,
can be effective too. But I prefer the paper because I prefer not
yeah,
cutting myself as much. And I
yeah.
prefer the paper. I know that there's a American blacksmith, Murray Carter, says you should rest your fingers on the blade lightly, these 3 fingers, and then just move the blade like a millimeter or something. And he says you can tell how sharp it is. But it just sounds like a macho and crazy way to do things,
Yeah,
I
sounds like
think.
you're one sneeze away from nerve damage. We got a couple good points. Well, Adrian, our friend up in Banff, wondering what knife you had.
Tex-Mex?
Yep, yeah.
Oh, that was a very old knife. This is a 12-year-old Yuto from Takeda-san. So he doesn't make them like this anymore. He makes them much thinner and lighter. The
Mm,
black is all consistent on it. It's not mottled like this anymore. And this one, if I bent it like this, I could bend it pretty easy actually. But his new ones you
mm,
can't bend. So his new knives are much, much better than the old ones. So there, that's the knife I'm using.
yeah. And then
I think that's the one he was asking about.
yeah, yeah, that's the one you've had in your hand there for a bit. But then our buddy Fred, who I'm gonna screw up where he's from. I think he's from Pennsylvania. He's from, yeah, I think he's from Pennsylvania. Fred's got some nice stuff, but he says, and this is what he says: I find that a good test of sharpness is if a knife can easily cut through a carrot or sweet potato, but I'm definitely not an expert. But I
You know
think
who else said carrot was our favorite knife shop on Instagram,
that's right. Oh,
who also
Minority
said
Report is asking us
carrot.
about Deba's there. I'll grab you a Deba to look at there in a minute. Wants an 8-inch Deba. I don't have a ton. Dr. G says on Forged and Fire, you need 3 or 4 pig carcasses to test sharpness. It also, you know, I got stuck in I'm going to grab a Deba here for our bud, but I get stuck in these like late night YouTube spirals, rabbit holes. And I ended up watching a video the other day of some guy just running around and smashing his way through like thick pieces of rope and 2x4s. And I guess like they're selling a different type of knife altogether, but it's not for me.
Is that the one that's like an obstacle course?
Yeah, yeah. Like it looks kind of fun to
I've
just go
seen
and
that.
screw up a bunch of stuff, but yeah, not
know.
for me in the long run. That's kind of a cool Deba. It's not an 8-inch Deba. I don't have a ton of single bevel stuff in the store right now. But one of those, oh my God, now I can't even remember who makes the knife. It's the Kajiwara. No,
Oh,
not Kajiwara.
I can't see the knife. I don't know.
It's the Masakage one. Remember the Masakage Debas?
Yeah, you know who they're from.
This is a test that I am failing right now, everyone. I can't remember.
I'm not going to tell you.
Kevin's not going to tell me. This is a 165, 180 mil. So that's about a 6. If you were to look at, I'm just going to look at the website real quick and just see, because I don't have a ton of Debas to show you in my shop. but I could make a good recommendation here for you. So yeah, you want a 210 or a 210 or even a 210 Deb is probably the right size for you. So I'll look it up here for a minute. I'll find something good for you while we're chatting. Tell you
Well,
what to
Chris,
look
I
up on the
got to toot
website.
my own horn here. Our man in Bulgaria, Sergey Otto, I don't know. He says he bought my book for Christmas, The Knife Nerd Guide to Japanese Kitchen Knives. And he says it's a real page turner. When is the next one coming out? Well,
we've been talking about that.
Well, this is a problem, right? Because Visty and I have to get to Japan because we want to add a number of blacksmiths and makers to the book. And we've got a few things up our sleeves. I'm trying to get Shiva to write a section. I'm trying to get Anderson to write a bit about passing the generation or passing the torch on to the younger generation. And we have a bunch of things to add. Excuse me. But if I can't go to Japan, it's hard to write.
Yeah, it's going to be
and it's impossible to get the photos, right? So if we can't go to Japan, we can't really do it, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
So there's no next book coming out, but there's going to be a super added to edition.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Fleshed out a bit. So I found a knife for our pal down in New York there. It was I think the Haruyuki Ginjo 210 millimeter Deba would be what you're on the hunt for. And that's Sasaoka. I found that while I was
I didn't want to help you.
So
Sasaoka. He's a good guy. He trained in Sakai, but then went back to Tosa. It's brothers. It's two brothers, actually.
Oh, cool.
And they're not in the book. So those are two guys we should probably add to the book, for example.
Yeah.
And Uncle Greg says he's returning the book because of the typo. There's 3 typos. 2 of them are on the same page. I think it's page 302. So if you want to be the same as that one guy that returned the book because there was 2 typos on one page and he found it too jarring, I will give you a full refund when you return your book to us because of the 2 typos.
But you have to admit it. Like you need to admit that verbally to a person. I want to return in order for you to get that refund, you need to say, I want to return this book because of the 2 typos and get the page right. You gotta find them, circle them with a red pen.
But I love it because there's only those 2 spelling errors on that one page are about 9 pages from the end. So he read the entire book.
Yeah.
If you start at the beginning.
That's the literary equivalent of someone eating their whole damn plate and telling the server they didn't like it. That's what it is. That's like, oh, it was terrible. I don't want to pay for it. But there's none of it left. You know?
Yeah, well, I ate
it all. It is. That's the same. Yeah, I ate it all just because I had to.
I was really hungry.
But I shouldn't have.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was terrible. God. There you go. There's 2 spelling errors on one page. And one of them is, I wrote the word sue, S-U-E, instead of use, U-S-E.
That happens.
Other one
I did that
was
45 times today.
And the other one was something else. I can't remember now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I can find the book. Try to find it if you want.
I got the book in front of me. I could probably figure it out.
See if you can find it. So here, let me give everyone a little recap as to what we're actually up to today. We've got some good conversation going on.
Are we up to anything today? What are we up to?
Well, we had a bit of a conversation there about it. Maybe we'll come back to it. I don't know. But this Japanese Knife 101, it's Kevin and I hanging out a couple times a week with a little bit of an audience, a bunch of new friends. And we just kind of talk knives. We talk about blacksmiths. We tell some stories about the knife makers, how they learned what they learned, so on and so forth. Maybe you need a hand picking up a new knife, or you want to know what knife would be good for what job. Anything like that, cooking, so on and so forth. But that's what we're here. So you can always fire your questions up into the comments, and we can and we'll we'll help you out. Sir Ghetto is asking what's the sharpest knife in the shop, which kind of ties in with what Colin is asking. So Colin is asking that not a sharpening question, but looking for a new knife and trying to choose between a Fujiwara Maboroshi, and a Masashi, probably a Kuroshu. Thoughts? So
I don't know where it is, Chris.
See, can't be that blatant.
Well, it was quite jarring. It upset me for days.
Yeah.
Minutes. Never.
Well, we're still talking about it. It's like 2 years later.
We're laughing
3
about
maybe.
it. Laughing and being bothered by it are two things.
Yeah. So
unlike you, and the wrong way you cut onions.
That's true. Yeah, I do tend to be a little more fiery than you in regards to those things. See, because when Kevin, I'll share this little tidbit. When someone says something that Kevin doesn't like, he makes a very certain face and then tries his damnedest to pretend that it didn't happen. Whereas if you say something that I don't like, you'll know that I'm upset with you. I don't have that, I don't have the filter that's as efficient to keep it to myself.
If you want to see when the filter is turned off, Chris, all you have to do is find me on my bicycle and cut me off with your car, or pass me so close that you brush your mirror on my elbow. And then you will find out the sort of things I might say when I'm unhappy.
Oh, Uncle Greg, chewing me up from a shirt. Before we start making fun of me too much, Colin, I think you've got two different things. You're looking at two different knives there. The reason why I might say the Maboroshi is because the Maboroshi, the carbon steel, the white carbon steel that it's made with, it's going to get super, super sharp. Carbon steel is a lot easier to sharpen, generally speaking. And you get a little more, there's some stuff that you're going to get with a Fujiwara that you don't get from anyone else, like that finger notch. He does all that forge welding in house. Derek says get both. I think that's a good answer.
So I was going to say, Derek's wise. He's not a dummy, right? Because he says, if I had a Maboroshi and a Kuroshu, I'd be twice as happy, and I wouldn't have to think, should I have bought the other one? That's not a bad idea.
No. The Masashi is going to be a lot easier to take care of. They're going to be the same to take care of, but if you tend to drink while you're cooking, you won't make it go rusty. J.O. Bowman is saying that he started with a 210 but found himself more comfortable with the 180 for most tasks, but find myself cooking more frequently and considering a 240 because I gifted my 210. Is a 240 worth it? A 240 is my favorite one.
That's my go-to knife.
Yeah.
That's the size there. Boom.
Yeah.
And that's the knife that I buy. Although I've been buying more too. I've been buying 210s lately, and I just got a 150.
Nice.
Not here yet. It's still at the warehouse.
I need to step in and help Mikey with something for a second. So be in it.
Oh, well, I've been left unsupervised, so we really can talk about anything now. We can probably talk about all the terrible things that Chris does. Derek Brown says he's wise because he understands buying two knives is smart, and he's poor because he understands buying two knives is smart. So that'll happen. I think regarding 240s, a 240 millimeter Guto versus a 210, I think the 240's got a lot more utility, right? The extra length of the blade means I can cut those big onions from the farmer's market or a cabbage or a watermelon with a lot more ease than if I had a smaller knife, right? So I think if I was waffling between a 210 and a 240 and I wanted to get the most utility out of it, I'd go for the 240 every time. You can just do more things with a bigger knife, and you've already got a 180. Right, you've already got a 180, and then what you do is you get a 240 that you really want, and then you get a 210 of the second knife you want to build that in the middle. So you've got like every kind of opportunity taken care of. I'm not the best person to ask about knives. I might have 200 and some knives, so there you go. But I would say you're right. Don't get your hair cut like Chris Lord. Don't wear his clothes, and just don't make his life choices. Just like you said there.
I could hear you the whole time, so I know that's not what you said. I just muted myself, not you.
Oh, you suck.
I had to
Ted
just
Lane asked me how I was fishing, which time I've been fishing a lot, but I was out and I'm not, and listen, oh, Chris, I didn't tell you that, Chris,
Hello.
here's
Hello.
the education, the language education moment.
Yeah.
I was out ice fishing on the weekend. I caught a sucker fish, which was weird,
Yeah.
but here's the thing. I was fishing, ice fishing, and my friend in Denmark, I sent a picture to her. She's in Copenhagen, and she said, "Oh, you're plinking. I love plinking." Chris,
I've
you're not
never
even
heard of
listening.
plinking.
Plinking.
I am. I've never heard of plinking.
She said it's the Swedish. So she's Danish, but she said it's the Swedish word for ice fishing. But she
Oh, I
also
like
doesn't
that.
think. She also doesn't think it's Swedish. She says she thinks it's Swinglish. So she thinks it's
Ah,
like the anglicized version of the Swedish version of what ice fishing is. But plinking, it's almost onomatopoeia. Like it's almost like the sound of the ice
yeah.
cracking, or the water, or maybe your lure going into the frozen, like through the hole and walk plink, plink, plink. Anyway, I am never going ice fishing again. I'm only going plinking from now on. I think it's a great word.
I like it too. So we got a couple questions on Instagram, and I think they're both quite good.
Are they
I'll let you.
questions about ice fishing and plinking?
Not about plinking, no. But GSKAB, I don't know how to say that. Perhaps off top. Giskab. Proud owner of several knives and recent benefactor of a Conroe grill. Question: when does a guy pivot and learn to sharpen themselves? I hone as much as possible, but defer to Knifewear experts for drop-off servicing. Worthwhile investing in gear and learning the trade. If you want to learn.
That's the best answer.
Yeah.
If you want to learn, go for it. If you don't want to learn, don't.
Yeah. If you think you would enjoy it, go for it. That's really the best advice I can give you in that. You won't get as good at whomever has been sharpening your knife without practice, and you won't get any practice if you don't try. So I am a firm believer that anybody can be good at it. It's just a matter of how much trial and error you want to put up with. We used to do, and it's the way I train the staff here in the store. We would do a sharpening class twice a week, and customers would come in, we'd take 2 hours, show them how to do. It's kind of the basics, right? You're focusing on like a Western knife, focused on what gear for what job, setting the angles, getting the motions correct. But that's how I would train the staff. I would have them the first sharpening class that they were, had room in it, because they would tend to fill up. I would have the staff step in on that, learn, and then I say the same thing at the end of every single class. The only difference at this point, because that's how I was first taught, was in one of those classes. The only difference between you and me is 6 years of practice, right? Like it's just.
But how many do you sharpen on a busy day?
Oh, a busy day, you do at least 50.
Because Chris, I'm going to make a bold statement, but I'm going to say that you, in your 6 years here, have sharpened as many knives as many people that have sharpened for their whole lives.
I'd say so, yeah.
Like I would say you have a lifetime's worth of knowledge of home sharpening in 6 years.
Yeah. So, and we've got a new guy. You've heard me kind of shouting across the room at him a couple of times, named Mecky.
We should put Mecky on here and ask him what his favorite knife is.
We can do that after, yeah.
That'd be fun.
Tag out. We'll tag out for a moment. My thought is, what was I saying? You distracted me. What was I talking about?
You were talking about
sharpening.
Sharpening. You said the only difference is you have 6 years of experience.
And then you said that my 6 years of experience counted for more than that.
Lifetime.
Mecky is the new guy. This is what it was. Mecky is the new guy. And we had this conversation earlier today. The only way that you're going to get better at it is to hold yourself to a pretty strict standard. Look for the things that aren't right. When you go to slice that piece of paper, don't just brush off the fact like, oh, it's a little bit toothy in this spot. Take a second, think about why it might, maybe go back to the stone, push it a little bit further, just to see. Because what I had suggested it was, and it's something I've wanted to do in the store for quite a while, like we did a sharpening competition a couple of years ago when Sheba was here. But something that I would like to do is just have a night, you know, buy a few beer and a pizza for the staff, and we all just stand around and we sharpen a knife, and then everyone we just critique each other's knives, kind of no holds barred, like, you know, no name calling or anything, but you know, it's, you know, just saying like, oh yeah, that's good. Like that's not enough. Like I want everyone to kind of provide their own explanation as to why they think it's good or what could be better. Oh, you kind of missed and you hit that, you know, you hit the heel there or something. You know what I mean? Just like, that's the only way to really get better is
Can we do that? Can we do that next time I'm in town?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be fun.
That might be like 5 years and we all have hazmat suits, but yeah, we'll do it next time you're around.
Well, I'm cycling to your city in 2022 in the summer, so it'll be then.
Appreciate the insight. If investing and beginning to learn, is there a churn in supplies? As in, do you waste materials during practice phase? No, not at
really.
all. The stones, if you take care of the stones, you flatten them properly, and you're not like, you're soaking the ones you're supposed to soak and you're not soaking the ones you're not, they'll last you your whole life. The amount, like even an avid home sharpener.
You may burn up one of the coarse ones.
Yeah, you might go
Like the
through
220 or the 250. You might go through a couple of those, but
Yeah.
you'll have them forever. Like, and if you have burnt them up, it'll be years down the road.
Yeah. So you don't need to worry about that. Just go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, like if you're into, you seem interested because you're asking more questions about it. Get the really easy set. Get a 250, 1,000, and a 4,000, and just go for it, man.
Yeah.
Oh, and somebody's asked me, Mr. Carter, Murray Carter's knives, what do I think of them, and do I own any more? I've had many through my hands that I sharpen. They sharpen pretty quickly, which means I also think they go dull pretty quickly. They're beautiful knives, right? I think a lot of American blacksmiths are really good at marketing and building up a brand, so they're able to charge more money for their knives earlier in their career than other people do. I think his knives are nice. People really like them. Like they're thin, they're straight. They seem to take an edge really well. They're beautiful. They're pricey, right? If I was going to spend some big money on American blacksmith, I'd get one from Bob Kramer. To be honest, I've known Bob for a few years now. He helped me actually write the Damascus section in the book. He edited for me. I would get one of his knives. Now they're about double or 4 times the price, but his knives are extraordinary. But he's making his own steels now, right? He's got a crucible forge, and he's like, I would like to make a steel now, and he starts putting shit in. He's like an alchemist now, and his knives are
that's kind of cool,
dude. They're so crazy, so crazy.
We also had our same friend there, Saragoto, or I'm going to call it like Serge, I guess, was asking about how we felt about the synthetic cutting boards, like the Hasegawa ones. And we had them. And I believe we're getting more. It's kind of it's a ongoing process getting things in. But I know we got some for a garage sale last year, or maybe it was the fall garage sale the year before.
Do you have a phone there? Do you have a phone there, Chris?
Yeah. You want me to send
out
you
a quick text and say, hey, get some of these for the May garage sale.
Yeah.
And then they'll be here for the May garage sale. It's pretty easy.
Okay.
Somebody's asking me about an S&W SW7 hunting knife. I have no idea what that is. And it came without an edge. What does that mean? How do you sell a knife that isn't sharp?
I think it happens more often than what we would presume. We're pretty careful about, we look over a knife pretty thoroughly before we send one out. Or if you're in the shop and you pick one out, we test the edge, like what you're showing us. We give it a good once over, make sure it's in good shape. But I looked it up. We should be able to sharpen that for you. It's nothing, it doesn't seem too out of the ordinary. I don't know what shop you'd be going to. If you were going to come into the Ottawa store, you're going to have to leave it with me for a day or two. because we got this
You
COVID
guys are
lockdown
closed.
going on.
You guys are
Yeah, we're closed.
But you get to
We're
open up
here.
in a few days, don't you? Like, do you get to open up like by Thursday or something?
No. No, the 11th of February is when the lockdown is supposed to be over. So we'll see what happens.
It's painful, Chris.
It is. It is. But you know what? We got a few people came by today, poked their head in the door, said hello.
I know.
And one thing that we can do.
Because I keep paying you.
Oh. True. It's true. You do.
Joking.
Which I'm grateful for.
I like that we get to do this. So there you go.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say about the.
Hold on. Let's finish with that bite. The knife. He says it was totally dull when it came out of the box. He couldn't cut himself if he tried. Send it back. You paid for it, right? You paid for it. Send it back. Call up the people you bought it from and say, "What gives, man? This knife's garbage. It's a knife, right? It's supposed to cut stuff. Send it back."
You would expect something to do what it's supposed to do the first day you had it. So, Charminator asked my opinion on angle guides over on YouTube. It's been there for a couple minutes, so I hope you're still here to hear my answer. I like them. If you need them, get one. The ones that we've got, I think maybe Kevin's running off to grab one.
I don't have one here.
Oh, okay. You're just going to get some tea.
I'm just going to get more coffee.
Yeah. Oh, so we sell one that comes to us from Tojiro, which I quite like. It's a plastic clip that's got a little strip of ceramic built into it, and that'll help you set. It's geared towards a Japanese knife. It's geared towards a Tojiro. So it's going to be around that 15 degrees. But what I like about it is the fact that it has the ceramics. I almost want to say a spacer. Like if my phone was a knife, it runs across the length of what would touch the stone. So it doesn't dig in. It doesn't dig into your stone. It just glances across the top of the stone because they're made of the same stuff. So one thing that I never liked about those little metal clips you could get at a place like Lee Valley or whatnot, they wear a groove into the center of your stone.
Yeah.
So something you can do to, if you don't have a guide, we've got a little trick with some nickels, which we do another sharpening class. We do the really nerdy one with Naoto, but then we do one that's a little less nerdy on Thursdays out of the Vancouver store.
When did they start that? Did they start that at 6 p.m. their time?
6 for them, 7 for you. Not till 9 if you're here. Yeah, so 6 p.m. Pacific. If you're out my way, it doesn't start till 9. But they're a good crowd. They know what they're talking about, and they get a little bit silly too. So it's kind of fun to watch. But we've got a really good trick that uses nickels. So if you took a stack of, if you're going to do Japanese knives, you only need 3. If you're going to do Western knives, you need 4. You put a stack of 4 nickels, and then you put another one in the front of it, and you kind of lay your knife down to sort out the angle. You could use that. The guide is kind of just like straight up training wheels, but if you wanted to, figure something else out, then you could check out some of our videos there. We've got lots on YouTube, and we do the live one once a week as well. And that's more of like kind of like a basic knife sharpening. It does tend to kind of, Francis has got his own sharpening fan club, and they end up getting pretty nerdy, but they don't start off that way. So, yeah.
And we start off sometimes with a point and go off the rails immediately.
No, we didn't. It wasn't immediate this time.
We're actually pretty
I would
good
say
today.
the middle section of our conversation was about what we were going to talk about, which was kind of sharpening tests and expectations, kind of a little bit of myth busting. One thing that gets me going about sharpness and sharpening things is people expecting everything to kind of act like. I grabbed a bunch of different stuff over here. Like I grabbed a razor. I grabbed a Denka. I got an axe. I got an outdoor knife. Like they're all different, right? So they're all gonna behave differently. And I just think like sometimes like you get the thing that drives me up the wall is when you get someone in the shop and they start thumbing knives and like, oh, that's not that sharp. Like, well, try going the other way, bud. See how sharp it is. You know,
I
like
mean, they run
to
their
me-
knife, their thumb this
Oh
way,
yeah, like this. Yeah.
and then you like try it this way,
You
buddy.
do that way, that'll show you how sharp it is. But hey, Meki, the razor is in a box on. Yeah, I took care of it. That's the one. No problem.
Maxime has said, excuse me, did you figure out which coins we need in Europe? And
Yeah.
I haven't.
I,
But
I could-
I'm just gonna Google it right now.
I was gonna look at the Canadian nickel and see how thick it is.
I'm just gonna look at the picture of Euro coins. I've had enough of them in my pocket that I probably don't remember actually.
Mackie, I don't think you need to do anything.
I think it's the 20. You know what? If you use the 20-cent Euro coin,
Oh, okay. Then I'll shut up.
and use one as the spacer between your little stack of 5.
Yeah.
The 20-cent coin should be real close, I think.
Okay.
I might be wrong, but I think it's pretty close. Ted Lane, have a good night. You got to make dinner prep. Good for you. I'm having sushi tonight, so I'm making dinner this way. I'm making dinner this way. Hey, Anzu Sushi Bistro, please send me sushi. Thank you.
Oh, is that place you brought me that time?
Yep.
Oh, that place is good.
With
We don't have
the
anywhere
little
like
candies.
that.
Those little candies.
Oh yeah, the flower candies.
Flower candies.
Uncle Greg says we'll have locusts and tornadoes by February. Well, we've had tornadoes in Ottawa, so let's not jinx that too much. Damon Spector is saying, does anyone else let the liquid dry out and recollect the powdered abrasive to use for polishing or rust removal? I've heard of people doing that. I like the old barkeeper's friend myself. It only costs like $3 for a can. That's nice and does the same thing. And it doesn't require the salt making process in your house. Spoon Monkey is wondering, without any information, what is their next knife? And then
240 shiso. 240 Haruyuki shiso.
240 Haruyuki shiso. That's a good.
That's my vote.
Actually, you know what my vote is based on something Kevin told us last week. Kagura-san is sending us some 240 Gyutos. That should be your next knife.
There's going to be two.
There's 2 of them, so you need to have one of them. I have one, and it's one of my favorites.
I've got one as well. Love it.
Yeah,
and he's retired. He never passed on his techniques to an apprentice or an employee, which I think goes back to a question somebody asked earlier about, is there blacksmiths that are just retiring and they're going to lose their techniques? And Kagura-san is one of them for sure. And he's retired officially. He just seems to make knives still now and again. Mr. Bauman wants to support you.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's nice. So
you should talk about that.
Well, maybe I could talk about that for that. I can go on about that for quite a while.
Oh, so maybe we get a, yeah.
I want to answer Serge's question first. Since we are on the sharpening subject, what do you think of strops? Compound versus naked leather. What leather do you prefer for stroping? I really like the paddle strops we have. Use this is an old one, so we've got suede on one side, which is the side that I would put the compound on, and then the other side, this one is all beat up. I've sanded this one a couple of times. This is Latigo leather, which is a lot smoother. And so I use them in conjunction with one another. I use the compounded suede to remove a burr when I'm sharpening. And then I use the Latigo side to polish it out and smooth it. So you can use both. And then what I would not do is I would not put compound on the smooth leather. It'll just cake up and it won't work the way you want it to work. I would also be a little more sparing with the honing compound. And I don't like to use compound when I'm stropping my razors. Not that you would presume I use a razor very much, but I do have them.
I know for a fact you trimmed that chin off yesterday with your Iwasaki.
I did, yeah.
I know because you told me, not because I have cameras in your bathroom or anything.
No. So, but now Spoon Monkey is asking, can I match a knife to someone as soon as they walk in the store, like knife stereotyping? I can get it pretty close. I'd say I could put 3 knives out and I'll know that you will love one of them. I can get that far. People are pretty easy to read. You know.
I don't know if I can.
Oh, I can get pretty close a lot of the time. This is something I like to brag about, is the knife that you will buy is probably one of the first 5 knives I've shown you. And that's like, I'm giving myself a bit of room for mistake.
I can often know the knife you're going to choose ultimately, even if it takes you 30 minutes longer.
Yeah. Yeah, especially after you've been there for a couple of moments and you're picking knives up. As soon as you start picking knives up, I know which one you want.
Yes.
I don't know who Uncle Greg is. I don't have an Uncle Greg. Do I? No, I don't. It's hard to tell from the Maritimes. It's hard to keep track.
But he's kind of giving you the gears today, and I like that. But it sounds like he's also being nice to you as well.
It is. Well, I enjoy this kind of ribbing. I think it's fun. So, but Jo has asked about something that I work pretty hard on. So, every Knifewear store is paired up with a local charity, and we take money that we earn from Sharpening and we donate it to the charities. I've been working with a charity called Operation Come Home for the last 6 years, I guess, since I've started here. We started off by supporting one of their social enterprises. The social enterprise is their way they deal with at-risk youth and homeless kids, and they don't, a lot of these kids are unemployable for one reason or another. And so what Operation Come Home does is they specialize in the creation of a social enterprise in order to create jobs for these kids to work at, so they can learn about going to work, they can learn about being on time, they can learn about kind of the expectations put upon the majority of adults. And then they focus on what might be stopping this person from being able to hold a job. Maybe it's like, poor living conditions. Maybe it's no education. Maybe it's drug abuse or addiction. Whatever the case may be, they're equipped to help. So we support, at first it was something called Farm Works, where they grew organic vegetables and then sold them in a CSA kind of thing. Now we deal more with something called Food Works, which is more of a catering company, and they feed the folks at the drop-in. So a couple of years ago, I joined their board of directors, which is kind of funny to look at just think of the people you would assume to be on a board of directors and then stick me in between the suits, which is always kind of funny. I do draw some stares when I show up to a meeting. But
I think you've been through the program.
Yeah, they think I'm one of them. So, but this year we are doing something. Normally our big kind of fundraising week occurs in January, and we would do something called the 24 Hours of Homelessness. But because of kind of, lockdowns and social distancing and what have you, we've decided to do something. They kind of revitalized one that they did, 5 or 10 years ago, called the $24 challenge. And the goal is that I've signed up to do this in an effort to raise some awareness and some money. I'm going to go grocery shopping on Sunday the 31st, and I'm only allowed to spend $24 on myself and I need to live off of that for the next week. And the reason why it's $24 is because after, if you know, you've got a kid who is using their programs and you know they're in community housing, they've bought their subsidized bus pass, they've bought, you know, like it's all budgeted out. Their disposable income is about $24. So that's what we're doing. So I really appreciate the interest, Jo. If you would like, we're going to be posting some stuff on the company social media. If you would like to send me an email, chris@knifewear.com, I'll share the link with you. You know, and if you're unable to donate, if you wouldn't mind kind of spreading the link around with your friends and family or on Facebook or whatever social media you use, I'd really appreciate it. So Alex has signed up to do it with me. Alex is the assistant manager here at the store. So the two of us are going to be real grumpy 4 days in, and we're gonna, hopefully we don't get at each other too much. So.
And Chris, just for kicks and for support and for fun and for sadness and for difficulty, I've decided I'm going to join you too.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be fun.
That'll be fun. We'll have to throw your name on our list too.
Yeah. Well, I've got to figure out how to sign up, but I think I'm in.
I'll show you.
Listen, I used to do, that used to be my life, very similar to that. The difference was I was working in a restaurant, so I'd eat there at work.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the part that I'm concerned about is that the you know, and one of the things that they had put to us about it was that it's not Top Chef. You don't have a pantry. You can't just just grab some olive oil out of my cupboard and use that. It's like, well, if you didn't buy it, you can't use it. So my plan is to buy a whole bunch of dried beans and rice, and hopefully some kind of meat is on sale. And I will just eat the same thing 3 times a day for 7 days a week. That's my strategy, but we'll see. Oh, I know exactly who you are. I just couldn't remember your last name. Yeah, shoot me an email and I'll share that with you. That's awesome. Thank you. Well, I guess now I'll stop talking about me, but and we can I don't know, get back to a couple more questions because there was some good ones there.
Before you get into that, I've got something to say.
What are you going to say?
I was going to say.
You found your book, didn't you?
I was going to say, you know, I don't really trust stairs because they're always up to something.
I knew when you were looking off screen for that amount of time, I knew what you were doing. You rascal.
Why did Chris take a while to decide on a haircut? Because he had to mull it over.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not far off, eh?
You good, huh?
I could just trim it up on the right here, and then just okay. What did we got?
Here's a nerd. Here's one for nerds. Here's one for math nerds. I'll put the book away.
Okay.
Oh my God! I found a shoe in the toilet this morning. It was clogged. A wooden shoe. Sorry, I found a wooden shoe. It was clogged. I liked that. And okay, goodbye forever, Deftonius. Have fun. Doesn't like my dad jokes. Has to leave. Why should you never call someone average, Chris?
Why?
Because it's mean.
Oh, that is a math joke.
On that one, I'm going to leave it.
All right.
Well,
Deftonius
is never coming back because he doesn't like my dad jokes.
Except for on Friday when he comes to work.
I was going to say, except for, you know, he'll be here for 10 more minutes as well.
Yeah. So Spoon Monkey is saying, why do some knives of a similar or same heat treatment stay sharper for longer than others? I've had 62 Rockwell C knives, and I swear that they stay as sharp for almost as long as my Koishi. Well, because I think here's my take, and it's, you know, it's not the sciencey math background, but we focus on we focus on hardness because it's an easy way for us to rank things, right? Generally speaking, if we focus on hardness, that'll tell you what you need to know, but there is more to it, right? That whole section that Naoto had contributed to the book, where he talks about ductility and molecular structures and different types of
And
austenite and marstenite
and
yeah, like all of that stuff is going to play a role too. But geometry comes into it as well, right?
yeah. And are they both 240 Utos that you're using for the same thing, or is one a 240 Uto and one a petty, right? So you're going to use them differently. Also, just because the blacksmith says this knife is 63 Rockwell doesn't mean everyone is, right? Because they're all done by hand, and they don't test every knife that they make.
Hey, Mackie, someone at the door.
Test one of the line, or every now and again, like they do it with a big company like Tojiro, test them all the time. But a guy like Kurosaki, he talks with Takavu Steel, and Takavu Steel says, oh, if you do it this way and that way, it will be this Rockwell hardness when you're done.
Yeah.
Right. So as much as it's a really scientific number, and 62 is 62 every time,
yeah,
it likely isn't. Right. And then comes the craftsmanship question, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that some people will say VG10 is VG10, but I know that Andrew-san's Kumo, Masafagi Kumo line stays sharp longer than a Shun.
Yeah.
Even though they're both VG10 steel, right?
Yeah.
So there's craftsmanship, there's skill, there is the fact that not all of them are tested, really. That all come into play. Also, the profile of the knife, are they exactly the same knife? Are you using them for the same thing? Are you using the same cutting board? You know, there's a lot of things that go into it. But I wish I had an answer that was just like, this is the answer. But like life is, things are much more complicated than they often seem at first.
Because one of the big things, and you know, I hope that this kind of comes across in us doing these videos, is that we try pretty hard to keep the jargon down, keep the pretension away, because I feel, and I know that Kevin feels the same, is that everybody should have a really cool knife that they love. And it shouldn't be something scary. Picking one out shouldn't be scary. It should be fun. And so I don't want you to think that you should have done a bunch of homework before you enter the store. So that's why we try to keep it simple.
Well, at the shop already, we've already not bought the bad ones. Like we only buy knives that we love. So we've already bought good knives. So we've already done the curation for you. So you're gonna come in and you're gonna, even if you just choose blindly, if you just walk down the thing and go, I like that one there because it's cool looking, you're gonna leave with a great knife, right? You're gonna leave with a knife that we're proud of. So there's no bad ones already. And then after that, it's just fine tuning what you want, right? Because there's lots of knives we don't buy because I just don't think they're great.
Yeah.
So we don't buy
and that's
them.
Generally, like, you know, a lot
in
of
fact,
the time.
Sometimes Naoto and I, you don't know this, Chris, but sometimes Naoto and I argue about knives.
Well, I can imagine that it happens. You know.
Well, this happened last year. He wanted to bring something in that I didn't like at all. And we argued actually about a month over it. We eventually got them in, and I've changed my mind. I can see his point. He's right. There was just a reason I didn't like them that wasn't important in the end.
Oh, that's fair. We had a question on Facebook that I think we glanced over, or I didn't see it pop up right away. Catherine had asked, have you talked about burrs? And I know that I know for a fact that Catherine just got a couple of stones. So I hope that she's still around.
Catherine
when
Duncan, if you're still around, give us a wave.
Give
But
us
she
a
was
wave
asking
or
about
say what's
sharpening.
up.
She was asking about sharpening last week too, wasn't she?
I think so. Yeah, she got a couple of. If I remember correctly, I think she had a couple of stones. I put some in a box. I said Catherine Duncan on the box. So hopefully.
That was nice of you to do.
Yeah, well, you know, she paid for it.
So she gave us money, and you gave her the knives, and you put them in a box.
I did.
Licked some stamps and stuck them on. You're a good man.
Yep, all 47 of them. Stones aren't free to put in the mail. You know.
Really heavy, so you got to put a lot of stamps on.
A lot of stamps. So if you're still around, Catherine, oh, she is here. Good. Okay.
She
so
just
Catherine,
gave you one of them.
Yeah, I like that one. So Catherine, a burr, when we're talking about sharpening, a burr is it's like this really thin, you'll hear it called other things. Sometimes you'll hear people call it a wire. But essentially what happens is when you're sharpening a knife, I'm going to pretend that, I don't know, here, just bring the camera down just a touch. We're going to pretend that my knee is the knife or is the stone. And when you're sharpening a knife, you're going back and forth and back and forth. What happens is that once you've worn away enough steel that you're going to get an angle that's kind of sharp, is going to get turned sharp, you'll feel this little lip of steel on the back. And what it is the steel is curling up off of the stone and off of the knife. That's going to, it kind of tells you when you've sharpened it enough. All right, if you can feel it there, you've gone far enough. It kind of looks like if you've had like, or you've seen someone do it, they put like the pastry chefs put the chocolate on the marble slab and they're pushing at it with the bench scraper to make those little chocolate cigars. Kind of looks like that. So when you're learning to sharpen, might have been another Catherine, or maybe there's another something for you. I don't know. If it was an extra gift, Catherine, keep your mouth shut. I don't want to get in trouble for ruining it.
And if there wasn't, what a dick you are.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Getting her all excited.
Maybe that was the thing I packed up. My concept of time is not great, especially during a lockdown. But especially what happens is you get this birth. Yeah, I'm not counting last year's birthday. So what you do is when you feel the burr, that tells you that you're more or less finished in that area of the knife, and you can move up on the stone a little bit, and you sharpen the next bit until you can feel the burr, and you do the whole way up. And then you flip the knife over and you do the other side. And Gabriel's harassing us. And then that tells you that you know, that's like the physical tell for when you're finished. It can be tricky. It can be tricky to first identify. That's why having someone kind of show you how to do it is beneficial. But you know, just try at it. Be sure that it's there. If you needed, you know, if you happened to be in the glebe while we were open and you happened to have a knife that you may have sharpened and you wanted some feedback, front door is open. You can't come right in, but I'll take a look at it for you. You know, best I can do for you at this time, you know.
Dr. G says burrs were important, but not as important as chills during the pandemic. I don't know what that means. Is it a joke? Is it a thing? I don't know. Not Dr. G.
Oh, we got a couple other good questions over there. Charminator says, hey, what's your favorite knives and do you give them nicknames? I don't give my knives nicknames.
No.
It's
I know people
like,
have named their knives. I haven't even named my bikes, really. I have bikes.
I'm not really, I'm not the sort to kind of name a car or name a bike, that kind of thing.
I had to name my car. The software in it demanded it have a name.
Oh yeah, what'd you name it?
Not telling.
Okay, fair.
I named it Chris Lord.
Cool. I think if I was a car, I don't know that I would be your car. It's far too efficient. And then Steve Mattingly, is Onryo actually doing much work on his knives any longer? Well, he's there. He's keeping an eye. When I was in Japan just a couple of years ago, I watched him forge knives, which I was surprised. He was like 77. You know, he's in better shape at 77 than I think I've ever been. So
he still forges a bit. He doesn't forge every day. Nobody does. It's too hard on your body.
no.
But he doesn't do much finishing. He doesn't do much heat treating or straightening. He only likes the hammer work now. Like Kato, him and Kato, they just like hammering. They don't like doing the rest of it anymore. And they don't do much, right? These are old men. You know, whereas the young Kato will go and blast out. He'll in one day he'll hammer 90 knives, right?
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's just bonkers, right? But you know, Anrasan in a day might do 20, right? It's a young man's game. But is he still there? He's still there every day. He's drinking coffee a lot and laughing.
Yeah.
But
Well,
he's there
someone's
every
gotta be in
day
charge, right?
and keeping an eye over top of Ikeda. So I've asked Anderson to write a couple of paragraphs or even a chapter in the new edition of our book about passing over the flame, like passing the torch to the next generation, because he's really quite eloquent. So I'm gonna ask him to write that, and then Naoto has a job called serious translation.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess he would be. And then we've got, to follow up with Sharminator, says, am I the only one who thinks that knives are alive and that they have personalities? No, I don't think so. Maybe a little bit.
I fall in love with my knives, but I don't generally give them names.
Yeah. But I remember reading, and it's been years now, but like Morimoto, the chef from like Iron Chef, and he's got a bunch of places in the States. His first cookbook was quite good. And he had a whole section in that book talking about his knives, because he had knives that he had from starting off as an apprentice and kind of just showing, oh, here, I'm going to see. Where am I?
Bless you.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you. So, but Morimoto said in the book something about every single person who's ever used your knife for something leaves a little bit behind, so that your knives do develop a personality. They do develop a kind of a soul of some sort. So I don't think you're not the only person to think that, you know, if they're very important to you, and you know, you've got I got a knife for this job, a knife for that job, that kind of thing. I chewed out one of my kids pretty hard today for knocking over a pepper grinder, and it landed on one of my knives. So,
you know what though, I do, like, I have knives that I truly love. Like I have an emotional response about it. I have an emotional relationship with some of my knives. Not all of them, but lots of them. And that's but I think it's really tied to when I got it and some big times that I used it, that sort of thing. You know, thinking about who made it, that sort of idea, experiences that I went through with it. But I have emotional responses to some knives. There's some knives I would never sell because I'm absolutely in love with them.
Easy one, DJ, how many garage sales do we do per year? 2. I thought there was only 1 in November. Please let me know so I can start putting cash aside. We do 1 in May, leading up to the May long weekend, which is here in that's around, like, it's like the last third of May.
I don't know when it is, but it's in May, and it's going to be a week in May, and we usually go until the holiday Monday, and we generally do it, so it goes for 8 days generally.
Yeah, and then in November, it's usually about halfway through November.
Well, it should be the first week in November.
Oh, this year it was late.
This
you're
year
right.
was a problem.
Generally, it starts. My dad's birthday is on November 6th. And it's happened a couple of times where I've been like, sorry, Dad, can't make it for dinner. Real busy. And he gets it because he doesn't like me very much anyway, so it's fine.
Well, who does?
Who does?
Gab McCaffrey said I shouldn't cook my cat, or he'll call them. I'm not going to cook my cat.
So here's the thing about Mr. McCaffrey. Is every time he sees like rabbit tracks or anything in his backyard, he always makes this joke on Facebook. He takes a picture and he's like, send me your recipes, that kind of thing. And I don't know if he's like the person who's still watching, but in case he is, I'm one day going to shoot a Barhaven rabbit, deliver it to his house with instructions on how to cook it.
Fur jacket on, fur jacket off. Guts in, guts out. Head on, head off. What are you going to do?
I'll probably do most of the work for him. You know,
probably safer.
I'll
now,
do
are
the
they
hard stuff.
rabbits or are they hares? My neighborhood is overrun with hares.
No, we don't have hares here.
Oh, really? Oh.
No,
We have a lot.
I remember. So there's some other good questions here, and I don't want to forget about them. But I got another story to tell. There was the first time I visited Calgary. You took us for dinner at River Cafe.
That was your first
And
time?
then-
That was a drunken. I mean, that was a very hardworking event.
Yeah, yeah. I learned a lot. I also taught a lot at that. I taught everybody what a heel of bourbon looks like.
Which is bigger
Which
than
is
you
an
think.
ongoing joke. It's a lot bigger than you think. It's really just a full glass. And then, Uncle Greg. I don't know who this person is. They're mean though. Still making fun of my hair. And then you should see my back, Uncle Greg. I am overrun with hairs. It's just not on my head. If you want to be like that, you know. But
And
so we were walking through.
Shaving hairs is a good idea for sharpness.
I think so. If you could get one done, your knife is quite sharp. But if you're, so we're walking through this park, and I'd never seen a hare before, and it was I was surprised at how big they were. And I was with Naoto. Naoto was as drunk as I was, and I had asked him like, "Oh, do you eat like, you know?" I was like, "Oh, do you like?" I said, "You should eat it." And he's like, "Oh no, I don't like them." I was like, "Oh, you don't eat them in Japan or whatever?" Because I thought like, well, rabbits are like, you give them a pound of food, you get a pound of meat kind of thing. Like that'd be really good for a country that had a lot of people, but not a lot of room. And but then yeah, no, we just had this like we're falling all over each other. I'd never seen one before, and I was drunk. I'm not even sure if they're as big as I think they are.
They're huge. They're huge. Chris, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
For the $24 challenge, so live on $24 a week.
Yeah.
Could I harvest a bunny?
I suppose so. You're not paying money for it. You're gonna have to do it without a bullet though, because the bullet's gonna cost you.
Well, I can't do it in the city with a bullet anyway, can I?
No, you have snares set up in your backyard. I would presume that it is fine.
I could have a snare set up in my front yard because that's where they go. But that'll be fun. Wouldn't the neighbors would like me? Snaring rabbits in the front yard?
Yeah. Spoon Monkey had a couple of good questions here. Has there ever been a time where you've refused to sharpen a knife? And why do a lot of knives come with concave grinds when over time, whomever sharpens is not going to keep it?
I've got those answers. I've got those answers. Can I do that one?
Yeah, go for it.
Every time somebody brings me a weapon, I say I don't sharpen it. So like swords or tantos, things like that, I don't sharpen those. And there's been some knives that are so damaged that I say things like, it's gonna cost $180 to fix this knife. Are you sure you want to sharpen it? So I guess in that case, I'm not refusing to, I'm telling them how long it's gonna take and how much it's gonna cost to fix it. And that they often choose not to. And what was the second part of that question?
Second, why do a lot of knives come with a concave grind when over time they won't be able to maintain that?
That's because the sharpening wheel they use for grinding, this is the other cat, by the way, that I will also not be cooking, Gabe. They use this huge wheel. It's round wheel, and as it's spinning, they grind it on that wheel. And because the wheel is slightly convex, it makes a slightly concave thing. Is that the answer?
I think so.
Okay, well, you just
Yep.
looked like you were playing checkers by yourself or something.
No, I was listening.
Is that your listening face?
Yeah, sometimes.
You've never
I
listened to
don't
me
have my
before.
glasses on, so
This is
yeah.
the first time you've listened to me. Holy bananas.
Yeah, well, that's sometimes like, because if you go to like flatten out a knife or thin out a knife, you'll notice just the two parts kind of touch, right? And that's when a lot of people kind of get in there with finger stones to fix them up. So, but yeah, it's kind of cool. When I went to Japan that time, I got to use one of those giant grinding wheels. It was crazy.
Mhm. But here's the other thing about those giant grinding wheels. Sometimes you put the knife on and rock it as it's spinning. So you actually make a convex edge instead of a concave edge. So some people make a convex edge with it because they rock it, and some people make a concave edge because they hold it flat. And it kind of depends on who's doing it and what the style is. So I hope that answers the question at all.
I think that's a pretty good explanation. Jean-Luc, the pepper mill did not land on the Denkanakiri.
That's good.
Benedicto
Chipped the
Kitchen.
shit out of that.
Yeah, it would have exploded. Kevin, what is your go-to gyuto? What's your absolute favorite gyuto?
Depends. I'm fickle. I have too many gyutos. Okay, I have. I might have 60, maybe 40. I don't know. I've got a lot of gyutos. It's gross. And I just every month or so I go through my collection and take out ones that I want to have in the kitchen and take away some and package them away. Right now, the two I'm using are this Kobayashi Damascus R2 and this one here, which is a Takeda 240 mil gyuto. So these are the two gyutos I'm using right now, right? But you probably have to understand, if I'm to answer this question properly, I have 3 210 millimeter Fujiwara Denka gyutos. One's got a normal handle, one's got a ironwood handle, and one's got a red handle. So I have 3 of those knives. So I think the answer might be somewhere in there. But I don't have any of those knives out right now in my kitchen. So all 3 of those are packed away.
Yeah.
So it changes what I use. I have a 240 millimeter Masakage Shimo that I've written poetry about. I love that knife.
You do like that one quite a bit.
But it's also not in my kitchen right now, so it's having a rest as well.
Yeah. Fred is asking, what's our opinion on only using stones, never using honing rods in between? I know someone who thinks ceramic rods are the devil and only stone sharpen. Doesn't that lead to a knife getting smaller a lot faster?
Well, you know, Chris, I don't believe in combs. Every time my hair is messy, I just get a haircut.
I know what you mean when you say that.
You know what? Every time my underwear gets dirty, I don't wash it. I just buy a new pair.
Yeah. I think
that's a bit of a dick way to respond, isn't it?
It is, but Fred's on our team, so I think using a honing rod, like just knocking strops over.
What are you doing?
I kicked over a strop by accident.
Did you light anything on fire today? Have the fire department come?
Nope. Haven't even used the microwave in the store since that happened.
What? You're not even trying.
Yeah. I don't know. I find a lot of people will take that stance, and I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know your pal Fred, but a lot of people will take that stance, thinking that the hard road is the better road. I think that it depends on what you're doing. You could wear your knife out a lot faster. You could also just have a sharper knife for longer if you just gave it a few swipes on the honing rod. One of the big things for me in that conversation was when Shibata-san finally admitted to Kevin that the ceramic honing rods were really good.
I was going to say that. He finally did, because he always thought I was an idiot. And then I gave him one day, took it home, and then he went, yeah, I use it all the time. It's great.
Yeah, it's just, you know what? It's an easy solution to a very common problem. Not everybody, if your buddy really likes sharpening, just let him. There's no point in arguing with him. But if he's complaining about it, complaining about having to sharpen all the time, well, then, you know what? Just sneak one into his house sometime. I bet you he'll start using it if it just showed up.
The Voog is saying white honing rod, black honing rod, or stropping. You and I have different views on this. At my house, I use the black rod, or sorry, I use the white rod to get it sharp, like to do it quickly. I use the black rod to make it smoother, and I use the strop right after that to make it super smooth.
Yeah.
If I'm sharpening, I use the white rod and the leather strop. So I use both strops and leather, and I use them together in combination. If you want to be a super nerd, white rod, black rod, leather strop. That'll give you the extra. If you're that guy that wants the extra 5% out of your knife, that's the combination you want to use.
Yeah, I do that in the store. For my own knives at home, I've got a white honing rod. I really don't cook as much as I was saying this to someone on the phone today. A customer called, needed a hand picking out a knife, and I called. We were chatting about it, and she's like, well, how often do you get your knife sharpened? And I was like, look, I've got a lot of them. I don't use them nearly as much as you think I should. Like, I've got 3 kids and a picky girlfriend. Like, I'm not really making these huge meals all the time. Like, I make a lot of sandwiches, you know? So,
back to the discussion about are rods good, or should you just use the stones? Fred's on our side apparently. Apparently he uses a comb to brush his hair when it gets messy, not just getting a haircut when his hair gets messy, which is good. And he washes his underwear. He doesn't just buy new ones. So that's good.
Oh, good. I knew I could count on Fred. Here's a good question. Here's a little kind of a nitty gritty steel question. Well, it's more of a nitty gritty Fujiwara question. Is there a notable difference between the Mabaroshis and Nishijis? Both use Shirogami #1 and are heat treated similarly. Is the difference only visual or ... The
difference is craftsmanship. There's a huge difference there. The Nishiji is a great knife, and the Mabaroshi is a better knife. When I say better, it's going to stay sharp longer, and the reason that is the way they're made, and it's the craftsmanship put into it. So for the Nishiji, the Fujiwara Nishiji line, he buys thin bars of steel that are already laminated. They got stainless, Shirogami 1, and then stainless, a little sandwich of it. He cuts a little piece of the bar and hammers that out into a knife. And he doesn't have to hit it very many times because it's already forge welded and it's already thinned, right? Yeah. When he makes the Mabaroshi knives, he starts with a fat core piece of steel. And he built the sanmai himself. So he puts a piece of stainless, a piece of carbon, and a piece of stainless, puts flux in between, forge welds them together. So he basically heats it up and hammers the snot out of it until they become one piece of steel. And he starts with a really fat piece instead of a thin rod. So he starts with, and then he hammers it more and more and more. And as he's hammering it more, it's getting more of the forging effect. So he's back to the austenite and the martensite that Naoto likes to talk about. Basically, he's creating structures within the steel by hammering it that make it harder and make it stronger and make it stay sharp longer, even though it's the same steel. And that's craftsmanship. And if you don't believe me about craftsmanship being important, imagine that you, Chris, and I all had flour, water, salt, and yeast, and we were all told to make a loaf of bread. Same ingredients. We're going to make 3 different loaves of bread, and mine's going to be better.
Good job.
Did you like that? Because I'll make pancakes. I'll make pralines.
So yeah,
what I'm saying, that's craftsmanship, right? So the Mabaroshi is more expensive than the Nishiji. Is it better? Yeah, right. But it's not that the Nishiji is bad. It's just not at the same level. It's not going to stay sharp as long. It's not going to feel as nice when you're cutting because they haven't applied as much skill and effort to making that knife. Anything to add?
No, you did a much better job of explaining that than I would have. I know the difference between them, but you got real into that one. That was good.
Oh, well, I like it. I like that question because it kind of picks my butt. pushes my buttons, right? Because a lot of people go, well, it's VG10, this is VG10, this is VG10. Oh, it's all the same. It's not.
No. Remember that time you and I were in a store at the same time and a guy said, ugh, VG10. Remember that? Remember that guy? I'm not going to say what city it was in. I'm not going to.
I can even tell you what restaurant he worked in.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd heard of the place before, instantly formed an opinion based on that. I don't know if anybody knows this about me.
The place, Chris, is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
The food is outstanding.
There's good food in town.
The cocktails are amazing. It's at a bar that's in a restaurant, or it's a bar and a restaurant in a hotel, and the bar and the restaurant is not, what's it called? It rhymes with Moxworth.
Well,
in a town called that rhymes with Vancouver.
See, I didn't want to, like, it was, we could have left a bit of mystery. See, that's them calling. That's them calling.
My buddy Chris was the chef there forever. He loved us. He's not calling.
So whoa, that sounds like a robot.
Are you at like an auction or something? What's going on?
That's what it sounded like, eh? It was yelling at us to answer it.
Shut up.
TJ is asking if the current situation has had any effect on the production of knives coming to us from Japan.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone's got to slow down, right? You can't have two people working shoulder to shoulder anymore. And I can't imagine working in front of a forge with it. Like, I've heard like cooks complain about, I've heard people walking around wearing a mask kind of thing. I would imagine that it's different wearing a little fabric mask over your face in front of a forge. Insane. In order to do it. I presume that so Spoon Monkey saying if it wasn't knives, what would it be?
Bikes and guitars. Fishing gear.
Bikes and guitars. Yeah.
And fishing gear.
Fishing gear, yeah.
Plinking gear. Plinking, the Swedish word for ice fishing. Plinking.
Yeah, that was good. That was a now you know moment.
I'm going plinking this weekend. I'm going plinking in 2 days.
Nice. Our buddy James in Ottawa has asked, Kevin, while in Japan, have you ever tried habushu? I don't even know what that is. My friend lived in Okinawa and regularly came across the pit vipers they use for the liqueur. Oh, I've seen that stuff before. Someone brought a bottle of it into the whale's bone when I worked there. There's this bottle of something it's some sort of booze with a snake sitting in it.
I have never seen it in Japan. I've seen it in Cambodia and in Vietnam and in Laos. In fact, I had some in Laos.
Okay, that was my next question.
I had a lot of it actually in Laos one day. I was at a little restaurant that was on the side of the Mekong River in Vientiane, Laos, the capital city, and I found this little place. It was hot, and I just wanted a beer. And I found this little place where it was like all the taxi drivers and tuk-tuk drivers were there, and me,
and you,
and they were drinking beer, and I wanted a beer, so I had a beer with them. And then a dude came by, and he had a big, like a massive, like one of those Texas Mickey bottles, his massive bottle. But he had not just, because I've seen them with snakes and stuff in, like this booze that's got like a steak stuffed in the bottle. But man, he had a fucking crow stuck in there, and snakes and scorpions and all kinds of crazy shit. And he's pouring out drinks for everybody, and they're paying him for these drinks. And I'm looking at it going, I really want one, but I'm scared. And one of the guys that's there just went, oh yeah, the foreigner's going to have one. I'll buy it. And then the place stopped, and they all stared at me, and I was like, well, like I best, right? So I popped it down. It was actually just kind of, I think it was Lao Lao. Like, I think it was their, like their rice distillate. That's kind of like shochu, kind of. Yeah, it wasn't really that strong, but, and it tasted nothing like what you would think. It just tasted like kind of dirty booze. So I ended up buying another one because, it seemed like the thing to do.
Is that kind of like the same idea as like in the Yukon, you get like the drink with the toe in the bottle? Is it just like a growth out thing?
Some dude drank that toe?
He drank the toe?
Some dude ate the toe.
That's terrible. That's a
And
person.
then he had to return it later, the next day.
Just a bone. Just a couple
What
of
a
metatarsals.
I don't understand, man. People are weird.
We got a couple more strop questions. Do you think in your experience using a strop is a must? And do you think better quality leathers make a major difference when stropping? Yes and yes. If you want your knife to get that extra bit of sharp, that like sharp leather is a must. And by increasing the quality of the leather, you can expect it to perform better. Some of the best, like, so we don't have a ton of different options and strops in Knifewear, but at Kent of Inglewood we do with the straight razors. And one of the best leathers you can get is called cordovan. And cordovan is made from horse, and it's not just horse skin. It's a very particular membrane that's kind of along the back of the horse that sits below the skin. Essentially what happens is when you use these finer grained leathers and whatnot, it's kind of like a stone where they just have a tighter kind of pattern. Like when you pull them tight and the fibers kind of stretch out, you get a tighter pattern and it grips the steel better and helps you clean up the edge. It's now cordovan's not cheap. Like a cordovan strop's like $400. So,
but if you're using a razor and it's on your face, you will care.
You will care. There is a difference.
You can get felt strops. They call them vegan felt strops. They're great, but then use a cordovan strop and it's very different, right? Like it's just incredibly smooth when you shave. There's no coarseness. There's no difficulty at all. It just goes.
Yeah, I did that when I used
it's a huge deal. I don't think the quality of leather matters that much for kitchen knives, to be honest.
Yeah,
I am kind of pragmatic, and I think if it mattered, if you could get that extra 1% with cordovan leather, the first time the knife touched the cutting board, it would be that quality of edge would be over. So you like realistically would get one slice. So I don't think the quality of the leather matters that much for kitchen knives, but for a razor cut in your face, it matters a huge amount.
There's been a lot. I'm just gonna throw this out there. I'm gonna give everyone a pat on the back. There's been a lot of great conversation and some really good questions today. And it's
interesting questions today.
Yeah, a good mix of stuff too. Like I didn't know what habushi was. That's cool. Uncle Greg, he's addicted to G Loomis rods. I don't know what that means.
Fishing rods. Fishing rods. I know what it means. I don't even want to start talking about fishing rods because that's a dirty, dirty rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah. Dr. G, this is something that I've heard before, and I don't actually, in my experience, I would say no, but but maybe there's a scientific reason for it. Do you find cutting acidic foods like citrus dulls carbon steel edges faster than stainless steel edges? Kevin
yes,
is
it
giving
does.
A big nod. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. If you let the acid sit on the very edge of the knife and it starts corroding it.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Because
if you don't clean your knife properly, it has a huge impact on it. If you do clean your knife properly and you don't let the micro rust or the micro oxidization happen along the edge, then like if you're diligent, no, it doesn't. But most people are just kind of cavalier about it. And yeah, it dulls your knife if you let the acid rust the edge.
Okay, good to know. Kevin, what ingredient is the most oddly satisfying to cut?
Mushrooms, big round white button mushrooms, and I like to cut them like this without looking. I look over here and I look over there, and I grab one, and I grab one, and I grab one. There, that is the most oddly satisfying, I think. You?
That's a good one. You know what I like doing? I like doing obliques.
Oh, yeah, that's just fun.
If I had a carrot, I would show everybody, but you roll the carrot as you're cutting. So you get these weird,
like this, You cut it at an
Yeah.
angle like this, and then you roll it a
Yeah.
quarter turn, then cut it at an angle,
Yeah.
and roll it a quarter turn, and cut it at an angle.
It's something that's like it's really easy to do, but really impresses everybody who gets to have it afterwards.
And nobody does it anymore. I think
No.
but you and I are probably the only ones.
Or anybody who comes into an Ottawa cut like a chef class. Because
Well,
I do like it that much.
Well, I always made the joke because those carrots have a very strange shape, right? They've got a very unique shape when you cut them that way. I always made the joke that my in-laws look at the carrots I cut for Thanksgiving and look at it and go, geez, he cooks really well and he has a knife store and he seems to know how to use knives, but fuck, he can't cut a carrot.
You know what I tell people? I tell people that I take longer to carve them. I carve them like that on purpose. What I like about that, if you want to look it up afterwards, you know, maybe later in the week I can show everybody.
You know what? Chris, I'm taking a holiday next week, which means I can't work at all. So I'm not going to be here for the show. But the following week, maybe we should do knife cuts that are not cool anymore.
Oh yeah. We can make like a little cucumber fan. I think I can make a carrot into a tomato rose. That's like I saw this one picture of someone did like all kinds of tomato roses and citrus segments and excuse me. And I just wanted, like, I was like, what year is it? What year is it in that picture?
Yeah, we could do like the carrot tulips and everything and the tomato
or
rose.
Yeah, the radishes and the ice water and the green onion and the red pepper curls.
Yeah. We should totally do that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We should 2 weeks.
So long as I don't need any fire, I can do it. That's really, I'm still worried about that. Our buddy in Bulgaria, what is your favorite petty at the moment? It's late there, dude. I'm just realizing that, like, I don't want to tell you what to do, but you should be asleep. Maybe he needs us to lull him to sleep. What's your favorite petty at the moment?
It might be 2 or 3 there, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I am a very early go to bed kind of guy.
I am a night owl. I am a night owl
anymore. I'm out by 10:30.
I am just getting revved up by 10 o'clock.
Favorite petty in Bulgaria. What is our favorite petty at the moment? What steel and what size? I recently bought a Takamura BG10 135 for my father, and it is amazing.
Yeah, that's a great knife.
Do you prefer a laser or a workhorse?
This is my Daikon 150 petty. This is a laser. This is my favorite petty knife right now, except for the petty knife I just bought, Chris, and I don't have it here because it's still at the warehouse waiting for me. And it's the 150 not Hibana. What's it called?
Oh, that Hibana. Yeah. No, that's what it's called. That Miyabi. Yeah.
I bought a 150 Miyabi Hibana.
So you have a workhorse and a laser.
Yeah.
Same thing. I would say the same. Now my workhorse is a little bit different. My workhorse is a 130 Moritaka. It's not really a workhorse for most people, but I've yet to do anything hard to it. And then my laser is my Mugen 150. Those are the only small knives I have, those two.
That's right. We've both got Mugen. I haven't used my Mugen 150 in forever.
Oh, I love that knife. I thinned it out, I thinned it out earlier this year. I guess it would have been. Oh, sure did. Actually, I didn't do it. Sean did it. I was like, hey, Sean, here's the test.
You're a jerk.
It took him like 4 days. That's steel.
Listen, I didn't know this, but I just found out that marijuana is legal in Bulgaria.
In Bulgaria, nice.
I can tell because our Bulgarian friend just says, you guys are mesmerizing. It's 1 a.m. Clearly, he's high.
A sure sign that I've dipped into the old Marv bars is that I'm watching one of our videos and laughing to myself. So
what's a Marv bar, Chris? They're legal. We can talk about them.
A Marv bar is like a Mars bar, but it gets you high. Makes you act like a guy named Marv.
Got some of that. Got some of the left-handed tobacco in it.
Yes, got the left-handed chocolate. So yeah, if I were to DJ, if I were to buy a new knife, if I were to buy a laser, price was no option, I'd go with the Denka, like what Kevin has. You know, they don't all have horn handles, but
Antler.
I would shoot for that.
Antler.
Antler, sorry.
Come on.
It's a sharp thing coming out of an animal's head. You're really just
Come on,
hairs.
you. We're so Newfoundland.
If I wanted something similar without having to, like, without going too crazy, I'd say like a Haruyuki, Yokuma, or like a Kuma if you wanted stainless steel. Or I would go with a Shiso if you wanted to try your hand at some super blue carbon. I think either of those are going to be wicked sharp. They're both lasers. You know, the Dank is going to take the cake, but I would feel good about both of those.
That Kuma though,
yeah,
that whole Kuma and Yokuma line are just those are treacherous knives, man. They're so good. They're so good, and they don't look like anything special. So for chefs, they're awesome because nobody's going to steal your knife.
No. If I wanted something that was a little more workhorse-esque, I think that Hibana line that Kevin talked about is a good call. I really like the Kurochi Tojiro DPs. I think they're a cool line for that.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that's a great one. I love that.
Yeah, and if you wanted something a little bit fancier that'll hold up to a little bit of abuse, I would go with a Kurosaki Sasame. They're made out of a steel called...
Or any Masashi.
Or any Masashi, yeah. That's true. Any of the Masashis. Kuroshu probably, because they're my favorite. But I said if I didn't want to like smash my bank account. No, I said when I went to Sasame, I said something a little bit fancier, you know?
Yeah, you did.
So I'm trying to figure out who Uncle Greg is. Like,
so Uncle Greg says, Chris sold me my Kuma Petty and it's great. But my girlfriend's laid claim to it.
I can't place it.
So okay, this kind of blends into somebody else said, how do you keep your girlfriend or wives away from your Japanese knives? Because I'm afraid they'll chip my knives. Listen, here's a funny story. I just got a text from my brother-in-law today saying I need a Gyuto. He says, I need a Gyuto because and I said, well, why? I said, you've got a Gyuto. He goes, well, I need a new one. I want a really fancy, cool looking one. He says, plus my son, my nephew, his son is 15 now, I guess. And for Christmas, I sent him a Hammertone, Fujimoto Hammertone 210 Gyuto.
Oh, nice.
He loves kitchen knives, right? And he loves the book, and so I thought he needs his own knife, right? Well, he had bought himself an R2 Kobayashi, like the one with the red handles. He'd saved up his money at his job to buy one of those petties.
Yeah.
So I bought him a 210 Fujimoto Hammertone, which I thought was a great knife. But apparently he keeps it in the box in his bedroom. And if they want to use it, they have to ask. And he generally says no. I
know who Uncle Greg is now.
At my house, we have his and her knives. So that happens.
Yeah, so at my house, I've got my magnet up. And then I've got like the decoy knife. I've got one of those Tojiro like Narihira. It was like $55 or something like that. That knife goes on the bottom. That is the easiest knife to grab. So there's no reason to grab anything else. I put it in it's the one closest to the cutting board, and it's on the bottom level. I've got 3 magnets stacked up in the kitchen. And that's the one. That's how I do it. That knife, you know what? It goes in the dishwasher. I don't give a shit. I don't say a word about that knife. Open a paint can with it, whatever you want. Just don't touch the other ones. So that's how I manage. And I don't say boo. The knife goes in the dishwasher all the time, and I don't say a word about it. It's not worth it. That's what it's there for. If I need to spend $55 every 2 years to make sure that the rest of them are safe, I don't care. I'll do it.
I bought a bicycle. I call that a Target knife, and I bought a Target bicycle, Chris.
Oh, nice.
So I've got a folding Brompton, like an English-made folding bicycle that folds down to nothing. It's a marvel of engineering. It looks like a joke, but it's a serious bike. You can do long-distance trips on it. I take it traveling instead of going for taxis and stuff. I just take this bike with me. It's great.
Yeah.
But then I have a 13-year-old that lives in this house that wanted to start riding that bike. Chris, how are 13-year-olds with things that are fiddly? Are they gentle?
Ruin everything.
Or are they
Break
rough?
everything.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
I'm not gonna pussyfoot around that.
bought a
Wreck everything they
secondhand.
touch.
I bought a secondhand, less than awesome folding bike as a target bike.
Nice.
Unfortunately, he's also got taste, so he's ridden it twice, and he went, "It sucks. I prefer yours." Like, yes, but mine cost $2,000, and yours cost $125.
There's a difference. There's a difference.
It's true, right? It's just a better bike. It's a much better bike, but that's okay. We both have folding bikes now, so that's good.
Yeah, I do know. I know exactly who Uncle Greg is now. Yeah.
He sounds like he's got less hair, and it makes fun of you a lot, which I like.
Nah, he's all right. He's all right. I thought he was just some like internet bully here for a little while, but now I know who he is now. I like him. You can keep making fun. I don't mind. Benedicto had asked, and this is something that it comes up from time to time when we're having these conversations. Fujiwara with mixed reviews. Some say depends on the stock, fit and finish is off for some. Others say it needs some tuning on stones before it can perform well. What are your thoughts on this? You know what? We look at every knife we sell and make sure that it is going to do its job. It's going to take care of you. I don't come like the thing I think to know about Fujiwara is that the fit and finish differs because he is more dedicated to getting you a super sharp knife, and a rustic look is okay, right? If
not
you
only
want
okay,
a knife,
he wants a rustic look. He goes for rustic looks.
Yeah. So I would. It is one of those things that Kevin, your phone must have died, eh? Because Instagram went off.
Yeah, I forgot to plug it in, and I just realized it's dead. I'm no longer on Instagram. Sorry, Instagram.
That's okay. That's fine. Sorry, Instagram. Kevin's gone now. But
he had
so
his
that's
house was on fire. Tell Instagram something.
So, oh yeah, Kevin, meteor hit his house, and now Kevin has developed superpowers.
Fantastic.
Oh, viewership went up, tripled when I said that. Went from 1 to 3. So I think it's one of those things that like if you were in the market for a Fujiwara and you wanted to be a little extra sure of something, let us know. Let us know ahead of time. Send us an email, hello@knifewear.com. Say, I would love to have a 195 Fujiwara Denka Gyuto, but I'm concerned about this particular thing. And then we will find the one where that's not an issue. We will send you some photos. Don't be afraid of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. We're here to help you. We want you to have the best knife possible. Like the best knife for you.
Yeah. Over on Instagram, Anthony says, I thought Kevin had superpowers. I said he did, but I didn't tell you which ones. Could be anything.
Well, I've got superpowers.
Kevin, do you ever read any Piers Anthony novels? You ever read any Piers Anthony?
Is that the guy that's like a English guy that's a judge on those Who Wants to Be a Dancer shows? Or
No, I don't know who he is. But Piers Anthony wrote all these fantasy novels that took place in this it's called Xanth. It's like all this like magical stuff happened. But the thing about Xanth was everybody had a magical spell or a magic ability they could do. And the first book, I don't want to ruin it too much, but the first book is about a guy who had no magic powers, and that turned out to be his magic power in the end. It's very something. That's your superpower. Maybe you just nullify all the other superpowers around you, and then that's why no one has superpowers, because of Kevin Kent.
Oh, it's all my
I came
fault.
up with that, Anthony Vink.
So you're just trying to blame shit on
zero Marv bars. Came up with that.
Okay, back to the Fujiwara situation.
Yeah.
This is a Fujiwara Denka no Hoto knife.
Okay.
See how rustic that blade is, right? It's got dents in it. It's got Like it just doesn't look like a factory made knife. If you look here in the bolster, there's scratches where they've done the grinding here.
Yeah.
Like it's not. And then the handle, he's got a spacer in there, but there's also like this little tiny, you can see this little tiny gap between the material and the steel. And that's a lot of things. That's a lot of what people are worried about with Fujiwara knives.
Yeah.
And I've talked to him about it a lot. And he said, listen, he says, the handles I make are smooth. They feel great because he actually hammer forges the whole blade and the bolster and the tang is all hammer forged. So the bolster, this section on every knife is completely different. And then he puts the handle on and then he sands and smooths the handle and makes them feel good, right?
Yeah.
But they're all completely unique and completely different. And that makes some people crazy.
Yeah.
And Fujiwara doesn't give up. He doesn't give a banana.
No, I've met him. He doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't give a banana about anything, really.
No.
But he's like, look, if I put a beautiful handle on, like, and he said Rusan or Takamura, because they use the same machine. So he said, if I put a beautiful, perfect handle on like Takamura, on this really rustic blade, it would look stupid, right? It would look stupid. So he just said, you know, like, that's it. Like, I make handles. They look good. They feel good. They're all unique. But yeah, there might be a little gap, or there might be like, and if that drives you crazy, don't get one.
Yeah.
Because that's just the fact. That's just how he makes them, right? You know, like if you want your knife to be exactly 210 millimeters long, don't buy a Fuji or don't buy a Takeda. Because his knives are all over the board because he hand forges them and hand shapes them with a hammer, his knives, right? So they're just going to be different. So it's if you're looking for something that's like computer perfect, a Fujiwara knife is not your thing. Get a Takamura, right? You know, so if that's what's bothering you, just say, I'm worried that the handle's got gaps in it or something. We'll find the one with the least gap, because we got a stack of them in the warehouse, right? We'll go through all of them. We'll find the one we think's the best. We'll take some pictures and send it to you, right? But is it a problem? I don't think it is, right? I also hear that, oh, they're overground, meaning there's a bit of a hollow here or on part of the blade, but I've never, like, with the exception of one or two, well, we inspect them before we send them out from the warehouse. And then we inspect them again before a customer takes them or before we mail them. But with the exception of maybe 4 out of the thousands that we've gone through, like we found maybe 4 problems. Like it's not, I don't know, somewhere online, I don't know, maybe he sends us better knives because he likes us better. Or maybe somebody online one day said, I don't like that knife. I bought it and it was overground and the handle was shit. And then somebody read that. And the next time someone said, what about Fujiwara knives? The guy that read it goes, I heard they were like this. And then it just builds up and it becomes a thing, right?
Yeah. Well, I think if you're looking for something wrong, you'll find something wrong. You know, like it's one of those things. You know, I think sometimes people are just looking for trouble. DJ's gone to bed. DJ went to bed. Well, that's good.
And he said, take care, Lordy.
Oh, that's
nice. It was super nice meeting you, Kevin. Oh, it was nice meeting you too, but you're in bed now in Bulgaria.
Well, he might still be there letting us take it.
I've just decided marijuana is legal, or else we're not that interesting.
Tuxedo
Here's my
Sam.
book in 2 days. Oh.
Wow. I
don't know why though. He's only used small words.
Oh, my friend Martin. Martin's waving at me on Instagram.
Hi, Martin.
That's pretty sure. Martin's the one who.
We're gonna play some D&D with you soon, Martin.
That's
when
right.
I say we, I mean Chris.
Yeah, it's D&D Martin. That's on Thursdays. He's been trying to kill us particularly hard the last couple of times. Tuxedo Sam says, I've been looking at tall petty knives for light butchery and veg. Found the 105 Hitohira TD Blue #2. Any other knives I should look at before I pull the trigger? I don't know the first thing about a 105 Hitohira TD Blue.
I have no idea what that is.
Tall petty. You might, you know what, you should, I know what you should check out. If you like that length, check out the Fujimoto Hammer Tone. It's not blue carbon steel. It's SLD, which is a stainless steel, but I
More
think it
forgiving
really
around
is.
bones too. Much
Yeah.
more forgiving around bones.
Yeah, it won't be as delicate as the as blue. So I would scope that out. I can you know what? I'll type it in for you.
Well, we could probably
Fujimoto.
go to the website and
I
drop the
could.
link in there. I got it, Chris.
I'll
I've
do
looked
that
at
too.
it.
Okay.
I'll get the link here. Don't you worry your
Cool.
pretty little head about it.
Yeah, well, Michel Cote says that he had ordered a 270 Takeda and it showed up at 281 millimeters. Yeah, well,
Yeah, because that's how they are.
Yeah. What else? Adrian's waiting for the 180 millimeter Denka Santoku to restock. Adrian knows this. Maybe someone else might need a bit of a reminder that you can always stick yourself on the notify me when available thing. Adrian, it's my understanding. I know I was talking to Naoto about Fujiwara stuff. We should be seeing some of that showing up soon. So you shouldn't have to go for too much longer without it. And
Do you think, Chris, that Tuxedo Sam is a guy named Sam that likes to wear tuxedos? Or do you think it's somebody named Sam that lives in Tuxedo Park like I do?
You know what? This is going to sound really strange, but my assumption of Tuxedo Sam was one of those little black and white cats. I thought Tuxedo Sam was a little black and white cat named Sam. Don't know why. Maybe I did have a
might
Marv
be
bar
true
today.
too.
I don't know.
Maybe
Mecky's
Tuxedo
ghosting.
Sam. Maybe Tuxedo Sam can tell us what they are.
But yeah, it's Kevin. It's 20 past 6. We've been at this for over 2 hours. Normally we're like, oh my God, it's like an hour and 45 minutes. How's anybody still watching? But today we're like an hour and 20 minutes, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
I said Tuxedo Sam has a black and white cat, but the cat is not called Sam.
Ah, interesting.
Still don't know if Tuxedo Sam wears tuxedos or lives in Tuxedo Park, like I do. Maybe Tuxedo Sam's my neighbor. I'm the one that parks my red car out front and probably annoys you by revving the engine loudly.
Your red car doesn't even have an engine.
Oh my God, you're right. My red car is totally faulty. It has no engine.
That was funny.
I rev the electric engine hard. It sounds like this when I rev the engine, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds like the lady who owns the shoe store beside us here in the Glebe.
She's got the same car.
She parks out back. She's got a white one, but it sounds like a UFO when she's like just like moving slowly, like when she's reversing out of the.
So when it starts up, it kind of goes. Whoop.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Then it's silent.
Especially because I watch like too much X-Files and stuff like that, so I always think the aliens are after me.
And you had a Marv bar.
And I sometimes eat Marv bars.
Totally legal in Canada.
Yeah,
totally
but not
legal
when
in
you're at
Canada.
work.
And no, yeah, don't eat them at work. But legal in Canada and legal in Bulgaria.
Yeah, as deemed by the Kevin Kent.
Yeah, based
here,
on
why
no
don't
research at all.
I am going to start kind of sharing a little bit of the. I'll give us the weekly rundown now. So.
Oh, the roundup.
We're gonna do the roundup because Mecky's mopping the floor here around me. And
we should probably name the company name or the shop name or something.
Yeah.
We never do that. And say like ring the bell and hit the button. I don't know what that means, but I see
I don't know what you're
YouTubers
talking about.
Yeah, ring the bell and push the thing.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah, I think what Kevin's trying to say is if you want to know when we're going live, you need to hit the little button icon so you get notifications that we're here. Or you could subscribe to the YouTube channel.
I didn't know what I was saying. I just know that YouTube people say that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. And Martin says any day without the fire department is a good day. You're telling me, Martin. I haven't had that happen to me, and well, that was the first time in the 6 years I've worked here. I've had it happen before in my previous career, but. So we've been doing, this is Japanese Knife 101. This is Knifewear's, well, it used to be weekly, but now it's several times a week. It's our Kevin and I get together for a little Ask Me Anything. We talk about sharpening. We talk about kind of this knife versus that knife. What knife is good for this job? Some people show up, harass me. That's okay. Sometimes Kevin gets harassed quite a bit. That's funnier for me.
I never get harassed. People are nice to
no,
me. They
no,
like me.
that's
Except
true.
for my spelling errors on my book.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you never get pages upon pages of Instagram messages about, oh, smash the
Sometimes,
button. That's what Uncle Greg says.
sometimes, well, that's what Uncle Greg says on his
Yeah.
YouTube channel.
Martin's just
Yes,
chewing me up over on Instagram now. You can't see it because your phone died. But
my
now
phone
Martin's
died.
just
Yeah.
really
Did
laying
he
into
light
me
me up?
about this.
Oh well.
Which
I
he
wanna
says,
hear
which
it.
knife is best for arson? Turns out it was a butane burner, Martin. It was a cast iron pan and a lamb neck that did it.
Hey Chris,
Knife
what
at
about
all.
the extra? What about that extra cut when you're doing a spring onion?
Like, oh my God, Spoon Monkey, who are you? Everyone, I think you guys. Oh, and then
An iceberg mama wants to know when you're making your French fries.
that's you. You're the one with the French fries.
No,
Oh,
iceberg mama
Adrian
says,
says,
when is Chris gonna make their French fries?
yeah, and then, but Adrian says we should all drink every time someone says knife. That sounds crazy, but I think that would be pretty good to watch.
Okay, Chris, when I get back from holiday, let's have the
Yeah.
drinking.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
what I'll have to
We will
do,
have, oh my God, that's such a good idea. We'll have the drinking episode.
yeah, I'll do it. I'll have to
Better
get
do it
someone
at
to like
home.
bring me home.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or get Alex to bring me home.
Take your
Or give him a
bicycle. It's only
bubble.
17K of riding.
Yeah, it's in the winter, and I think I've used
the
my
pitch
bicycle like twice in the last year.
In the pitch black,
You know?
in the winter.
I prefer the
In
one.
the snow.
I prefer the one with the motor. So what was I saying? Okay, so we do our video 3 times a week right now, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Saturday, I believe, on Thursday, Nathan is gonna sub in for me. I have an appointment that I could not change.
Oh,
So,
are you getting your reassignment that day?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good.
So just like that, one appointment over.
So the following Tuesday will be Crystal Lord. That's excellent.
Yeah, I'll just get my sister to come because that's her name.
I know.
So we're doing it Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern time, which is 4 p.m. Mountain time. I have not figured out how I'm going to do this, but I have promised to make fried chicken on Saturday on a video. And I'm
In the shop?
nervous. I think I'm gonna have to just do it outside. I'm not even gonna take the chance.
But I don't think smoke is what comes out of a fryer that gets steam.
I know, but imagine if they showed up again. Like that looked at like they might
Well,
just
I haven't even got the bill for the first time.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll give you a bill for the very first time ever.
Oh, I suspect they will.
Yeah, well, let's hope they don't. If anyone out there works with the city of Ottawa or you work with like the fire department and there's a bill for the smoke detector going off and the fire truck showing up, if you could just like, instead of passing that along, just rip it up and throw it in the garbage, I'll sharpen your knives for free for, I don't care how long. I'll just do it.
Or just send it to Chris Lord, Chris@knifewear.com.
Yeah, KRIS@knifewear.com.
That's the spelling of Chris in Edmonton. That's the spelling of his name.
Yeah, no, he takes care of that. He's like our accounts receivable. So.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah. That's it. You didn't know that. I just told him that now. So, so we do our video 3 times a week. We've got some other stuff going on. We do a couple sharpening videos, one on Tuesday or Thursday evenings, and another one on Friday afternoons. If you have any other questions throughout the week, or you need a hand with an order or something like that, you can always shoot us a message at hello@knifewear.com. It's you're going to get our help desk, and that's where kind of all eyes are on the help desk. If the stores are open, you can expect an answer in an hour or two. You know, if it's overnight, you know, give us overnight. We're not making Alex work all night. I guess the Ottawa store is still in a provincial lockdown, so we're here doing curbside pickup. You can drop your knives off for sharpening. We'll have you pay for it through the website, because this is something I learned, Kevin. It's not curbside if you got to pay when you get here. So you drop your knives off. This is how it works. You bring us your knives. I'll write you up a ticket. I'll send you an email. You pay for it. Yeah, there's an invoice in the email. You pay for it through there, and then you come pick them up afterwards. If that's really troublesome, we've got some workarounds, but that is the best case scenario for everybody. No one's going to get in trouble that way. So let's do it that way, please. And we're at this, at least, you know, the current end date is the 11th of February. Let's see what everyone says. There's been talk about Ottawa being well behaved and pushing it up. I don't know if that's still true or not. I try not to look at the news too much. I rely on Kevin to give me the news. So
there's news today.
What was your news today?
Well, there is news today. Tomorrow, the Americans get a new president.
They get a new president tomorrow. That's true.
I wonder what kind of damage the old one's doing right now.
Oh, he took a shit in the office.
In a drawer. Just in a drawer.
He just like he lifted up one of the couch cushions and shit under that, you know? Yeah. My big thing, and we talked about it a little bit, and James was very nice to bring it up. I'm doing and Kevin has since volunteered to partake in the $24 challenge to raise some awareness around, you know, the homeless youth here in Ottawa, and raise some money for Operation Come Home to give them a hand. So if that's something that you might be interested in helping us out with, for the time being, you can send me an email at chris@knifewear.com. I know Nathan is planning some social media exposure that way. So
I believe on our Facebook site, I believe there's a post on our Facebook site already. Okay,
so Nathan might have already gone for it. But if you had any questions about it or how it works, by all means, shoot me an email. If it's about Operation Come Home stuff, it's Chris, CHRIS, at knifewear.com. If it's about fire department stuff, it's KRIS at knifewear.com. So, you know, I'm happy to do it. I've done a lot of, I've worked with them for quite a while. Over the last, I guess, 5 years, I've worked very closely with them, and I'm very proud to do so. So if you're able to help support, thank you very much. If you're not, if you wouldn't mind kind of spreading the word around, I'd appreciate that too. So I don't know, that's about it for me. We've got, we do have a couple little knife questions. You want to like just bang out a couple and then say goodbye, Kevin?
Yeah, I like this one. So if Chris cooked a steak on a piece of metal from a forge, would the fire department come?
Probably not. There's a lot more smoke coming out of a forge than me cooking a piece of meat.
What's the sound of one hand clapping?
Yeah. Is the forge within Knifewear Ottawa? Because then yes. If the forge is in a black, yeah.
What's the sound of one hand falling in the forest? And would anybody hear?
Is it attached to me? Because would I hear? I might not hear it. I'm kind of losing my hearing.
I don't know.
I'm aging so quickly all of a sudden. Fighting Usyk says some sort of multi-store charity fundraiser that involves the loser shaving their head.
Nope.
I don't know. I'm not ready for that.
No, thanks.
Oh, you know what? I'll volunteer Sean. Sean will shave his head.
So
we'll just make Alex do it. Yeah, Alex will do it.
And Mecky. And Megan. Make Megan shave her head.
Oh, Megan and Mecky shaving their heads.
Megan would look like, I think she would look, Mecky said no. What?
Mecky.
No, Mecky's shaving his head now.
Yeah, I'll make him do it. I'll hold him down. And then
Have you ever heard about San Mai knives delaminating? Yes, there's 2 reasons for San Mai knives to delaminate. San Mai knives are the 3-layer steel knives. 1, 2, 3, like a bologna sandwich. 2 reasons why it delaminates. It could delaminate if the 3 layers weren't forge welded together properly, or it could delaminate if you get a lot of corrosion and it's carbon steel. If it's carbon steel core and stainless on the outside, for example, like a Fujiwara knife, if you let the carbon steel corrode too much or get too much rust, they can delaminate then too. So one is manufacturer error and one is user error. So yes, it happens. It can happen, but yeah, let's hope it didn't happen to you. Tuxedo Sam says at the end of the George W. Bush administration, they took all the W's off the keyboard. So we can only imagine what's happening in there right now. Well, I think Chris Lord has already described his scenario where people are just pooping in drawers.
They're pooping in the drawers. I don't think they used many keyboards during all that. I think you'll find that the White House is completely cleared out of crayons.
Well, I think you might find that the White House has just been looted. There might just be no more computers.
Yeah, that guy with the fur hat took all the computers.
Oh, that fur hat guy. He got pardoned today, hey?
Did he? Of course he did.
I don't know. I just made that up, but it's probably true.
Probably true. All right. Well, let's call it a night. I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get home late now, or Mecky's gonna be mad at me because I didn't do anything.
Is Mecky still there?
Yeah, he's like sweeping the floor and mopping.
Show us Mecky.
Well, he's gone downstairs now. I could like go chase. No, I don't have a mask on. I gotta stay away from him.
Well,
you're trying to trick
Chris,
me.
stay safe. Uncle Greg says you're losing all your hair, but at least you're growing it under your nose, which is nice.
Yeah.
And
he didn't say that. I thought he did for sure. I just looked.
Fighting Usyk said, "You think his nose is hair? You should see his ears." And Tuxedo Sam said, "Nose, ears. What about bottom?" So there you go.
Oh, there we go. Well, come next week and maybe you'll see. Who knows?
Does it look like I'm in an art gallery here?
Kinda. I look like I'm in a knife store.
Maybe I should be in a knife store.
It looks, yeah, maybe. You should get one.
Iceberg Mama just tuned in, and he, which is not a she, he said, "What about those French fries there, Lord?"
He didn't. They're not saying that. I'm looking at these things too.
That's what they're saying.
They're
texting me.
Trying to
They're
get,
texting me.
Okay, that's what it is. I can't see your texts. So.
All
right. Well, have a good evening. And well, I guess it's like afternoon for you. So have a good one, everybody. And we'll talk to you again on Thursday and Saturday.